right, y'all. You asked, and Jay and I are here to deliver. The PLC Podcast Season 9 edition, Week 1, is recorded and is coming up next. We're hyped. This is going to be every week, on Tuesday, ideally. But sometimes things happen, so maybe a little bit later in the week every once in a while. But no, Tuesdays, the PLC Podcast is coming to you on a weekly basis, and we are hyped. We just spent about 2 hours recording thoughts on everybody's team. So we broke it down. Everybody's team gets covered in a very real way. So not, a jokey, make some jokes, have some laughs type of way, but in a very real way. So we talk about the transactions from last weekend, we talk about your teams in general, and then we make our Week 1 picks. We hope you enjoy, and welcome to Season 9. See you guys in chat, and again, hope you enjoy the PLC Podcast Season 9. All right, Jay, we're back. This is the PLC Podcast Season 9 edition. Jay, what's going on?
We're back, baby. We took a couple years off, and now we're back, and we're better. Jordan, how are you feeling?
Yo, I'm feeling good. I freaking love this time of year. The season is back in basically full swing at this point. We've got our teams, we've made some transactions, and it's battle week. It feels good.
Of course. For all the times that I wrote in the chat, and me and Jordan had no more time. Guess what? I lied. We had this set in stone weeks, even months ago. So I lied.
We did. Exactly.
I'm definitely glad to be back talking to you, my brother, of course, as we approach our 9th season of the PLC. Is that crazy?
It is nuts. It's like, it's almost a decade of Pokemon. I think we started in 2016, though, because that's when, Week 1 of Season 1 was my daughter's not birthday, but like the day she was born. It was in and around that time. So it was 2016. So we're coming up on a decade. We're coming up on 10 seasons, and then we're, pretty close to a decade of PLC action. So it's pretty freaking awesome. I freaking love it.
Amazing, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's exciting. And again, like Jay said, like this has been something that we've been talking about doing this for the past couple weeks, and we've known that we're going to do this for the past couple weeks. And so everyone's always saying the podcast coming back, the podcast coming back. You got to bring the podcast back. We're like, nah, we've kind of been feeding into it. And we're officially back now. So it feels good. It's awesome.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you guys know the drill. The last time me and Jay did this, consistently was season 7, right, Jay? Was that the last season? Okay.
We had a little bit on season 8, I believe, but then we kind of started, then we kind of crashed out after a while.
Yeah, and I think I might have even tried to I don't think I talked to you, and I was like, I'm gonna just record some podcast episodes in season 8, but it didn't feel the same, and it felt kind of scummy that I did that. So I was like, I think I stopped for that reason too. So it just wasn't season 8 was not a good year for the podcast, to say the least.
Yeah, bro, you try to hit a Timberlake again, leaving instinct on me. I was heartbroken for a little bit, man. Yeah. I was like, wow, like why'd he just leave me like that?
No, that was bad. That was bad. No,
it was worth a shot. It was worth a shot.
Yeah, and so just for full transparency and clarity with everybody, like my computer, for some reason, like my Wi-Fi was not connecting to the PC very well, and it would just disconnect. So Jay and I, we'd be like in a call, and it would just drop entirely, and it's like, oh my gosh, what the heck's going on? So it would do that like almost every week. And it got to a point where we were just like, yo, it's tough to schedule. The computer's not cooperating. We're just gonna have to call it, and we ultimately did. But now I'm hardwired, and we are back, and it's season 9, and we're both excited. So,
yes, sir, we're back. We got our internet fixed. We got new computers. We got better mics. It's a whole new world.
Exactly, it really is. This is freaking awesome. So. Yes, what you can expect. So if you've listened to the PLC podcast in the past, you kind of know, but this is basically just a weekly podcast. Jay and I are going to bring the past week's results. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the transactions. We're going to talk about, in this episode, we're going to talk about teams. And then we're going to talk about like our week's picks. So in week 1, we have 9 battles taking place. Jay is going to pick his 9 winners as well as the margin that they win by, and then I'm going to do the same thing. So this is going to be a weekly thing. You guys be sure to tune in. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on like your podcasting apps, and it's just going to be fun. It's going to be super excited. So Jay, anything else to mention before we kind of hop in?
No, that's pretty much everything. As Jordan said, this will be on a weekly basis. And just to reiterate what he said one more time, when we do our picks, we will also be looking for those margins. So keep in mind, we're getting it into a little bit later, but those margins do matter. For those who have heard the podcast before, you do know what I'm talking about. But again, we will
Hmm.
be getting into that a little later as well.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So it's going to be fun. It's all around. The PLC podcast is a fun experience for everybody. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you listen weekly. And yeah, we're going to talk about teams. We're going to talk about you, whoever's listening. You. We're going to talk about you and your teams and your, mishaps and your victories and all that good stuff. So make sure you're listening. So this week's episode is kind of special because it's one, the intro, and it's also like the welcome back. So that's awesome. But then two, we don't have any battles to discuss from last week. So what we're gonna do for this episode is people wanted a like real review of their teams, and they didn't necessarily appreciate the real review that I did a few weeks ago.
I'm not sure
So
why. I thought that was pretty accurate, like for a lot of people, to
oh,
be
I
honest with
freaking
you.
loved it. It was freaking awesome. And again, fair, unbiased. It was just about as unbiased as I could be. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, people didn't necessarily appreciate them as much as I thought they would. So this week we're bringing you real reviews, and we're gonna do everybody. So without delaying any further, Jay, I'll let you tackle Zach's team first. But this past weekend, Zach dropped Go-Go and acquired Ditto. Didn't make any trades. What did you think about his moves? What do you think about the team?
Love the move. No offense to Go-Go. Love the design, but it was really only used for that ride feature back in X and Y. It has a couple of niche things it could do, but realistically, I don't think it will fit a role on anyone's team, unless of course someone proves me wrong, which I'm looking forward to. But I love the Ditto pick for Zach. Ditto's something that we've had a couple seasons prior, as well as I don't know if we had it last season. But Ditto's always been kind of that surprise element where you kind of just throw it in there. You have to be wary of potentially any stat boost, fall into that trap of getting into that transform choice scarf where now you're give them that stat boost. Now you're being outsped. Love the pick for his team, honestly. And I just think it goes really well because it's so versatile and it could fit any role. Even though it has that one niche option, it can do that niche option with pretty much any any teammate, can do it against any opponent, and I honestly think it's pretty solid. How about Jordan? Do you have any thoughts on this move by any chance?
I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, Ditto is just the biggest thing for me with Ditto in our format is you can't go into a match against a Ditto and be like, I'm gonna swords dance up. I'm going to calm mind up because the Ditto can just switch in and have all your stat boosts, and then like you said, have the choice scarf and be faster than you with those same boosts. So it's something you just got to keep in mind, and it kind of takes that type of strategy off the table for that week. So ultimately, good pick. I like it. Dropped the last pick in the draft for a Ditto. It's a big upgrade. So
100%. And Zach this time around, he did have first pick in the draft, Team Long Neck Boys. It's a very stupid name, Zach. I think you should go back to the Baltimore Bros. That's just me though, respectfully.
right, right.
But man, the thing about Zach is Zach's always gonna draft really well. Even though he may not like his team, we've been doing this for 9 seasons. He's won 3 of them, which is very impressive. Whenever I think of Zach, as I said just a couple moments ago, I think of versatility, and I think him picking Rillaboom, that's a mon that can fit into almost any scheme. Whether you want to go weather, whether you run a even run Trick Room, you have that priority on that Glassy Glide, and then just the supporting cast, Confe in that grassy terrain, that floral healing is increased.
Hmm.
Sandy Shock is something that he really wanted to use, and personally, I've never been too high on it, not just because I've never really seen it being used. So I'm eager to see how a player like Zach can get that going.
Yeah.
Rigorath is a monster. It has the opportunity to kind of control the field with the armor tail. Sap Sipper is also a pretty nice surprise ability. And a lot of the rest of his team, Alolan Muck, Milotic, Regirock, Bastiodon. I hate Bastiodon. If you know, you know. Very, very bulky Pokemon that can do a lot if they're not dealt with. It's easy to just leave them on the field and then just let them kind of do their own thing, but that could also result in a very uncomfortable situation. Overall, man, I like the team. And as I said, there's a lot of different things that Zach can definitely do. For me, the biggest thing is kind of that speed control. If he does get Trick Room up, it's very hard to work the priority in that environment. Once he has the armor tail up, he's gonna have the priority grassy glides with the Rillaboom, and rarely anything on his team will be taken out in one hit. So I think it's a pretty solid team. Jordan, what are your thoughts on Zach this couple weeks?
Well, no, I mean it's just a good team overall. Like you mentioned, like getting letting Zach get. I mean, we didn't let him get first pick, but just the opportunity to pick first is pretty awesome. And when you have someone as good as Zach who's picking first, he's gonna make sure he has like a plan going in. So Rillaboom, it's a nice Pokemon to build around, and then Comfey to back it up as his second pick to get that floral healing in the grassy terrain. Like it's just ultimately a good team, and I'm hyped to see what he can do. It's always fun. You know, he ran the gambit, or ran like basically ran like all the teams that he played against. He just ran them through the mud. Um, these last couple seasons, he's gone on win streaks like crazy. It's just going to be fun to see, you know, how he plays this year. So ultimately, I do like his moves. I do like his team, and yeah, Zach's gonna have a good season. So um, the next player up, we're just gonna go in order. So the next player that drafted, the next player on the list is Justin. And this past weekend, Justin did drop Cramorant and picked up Dugong. But then Justin also traded Mamoswine, which was his second pick, to Ian for Lucario. Now, the move, I'm not sure I love the move. And the reason I say that is because Mamoswine and Lola Ninetales, I mean, you kind of drafted a core in your first two picks. Now, I understand that Justin loves Lucario. So I get it. I get the trade. But I just don't know if I absolutely love it, especially at this point in the season. Maybe if he was in a trade for Lucario a few weeks in, maybe give them the Mamoswine and the Ninetales a little bit of run, run them 2-3 weeks and just see how you like it, because it might be something that you end up loving, and it's going to carry you to a couple wins in the season. But then to kind of blow that up immediately and pick up Lucario, again, I get it. Play with your favorites, but I'm not entirely sure I love the move, love the trade, and even the Dugong. Like, so picking up the Dugong, he did drop the Cramorant, which, you know, let's be honest, Cram's probably not going to do too much in our meta, although it is one of my favorite derpy looking Pokemon. But even getting the Dugong is kind of like, all right, I'm gonna, you know, really shore up this ice core, this hail core, or this snow core. I think it's snow now, but I'm really gonna shore up this core that I have. But then you just kind of blow it up in the same weekend. So I'm not sure I entirely love the trade from a you know, tactical standpoint, but I mean, I get it. Lucario's dope and he loves it. So um, other than that, the team is pretty solid though. You do have the Lapra. Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of ice types, but then he's got, you know, Pachirizu's really awesome. Gothitel's a really good Pokemon. Brambleghast, if you can get some Tailwind up, it can do some damage. Terrakion, you get beat up next to it. It's a really dangerous Pokemon. Flygon, PZ, Gengar, Minior. I mean, they're all kind of Flygon, PZ, Gengar, a little bit of damage output there. Minior, I haven't seen that in a really long time, so I'm not sure if that's damage. Um, or if it has any, you know, support moves. But ultimately, I like the team. I'm just not entirely in love with the transactions this past weekend. We'll have to see how that shakes out. Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, a little bit on the fence with the transaction. Again, for anyone that's been here for a couple years now, they know how much Justin loves Lucario.
Yep.
The guy I believe has like a life size Lucario that he bought from the Pokemon Center at one point. Not his favorite. But as you said, from a tactical standpoint, there's so much that the Mammoth could have done. It could have been under the snow with the snow cloak. It does get that defense boost from the snow, which is one of the changes this gen. You know what I mean? So it makes it even more bulkier combined with that HP. Um, so on the fence about it, but I can't really. I respect that he's going with what he loves. In regards to the team, there is a nice ice core. The team also itself looks like it does a lot of singing. I won't go too much into it. If you know, you know, but the team does do a lot of singing. I'm gonna be looking forward to seeing how much singing they're gonna be doing throughout the entire season.
No, I dig it, and I'm actually gonna have to look that up too because I don't exactly know the singing that you're talking about, so I got to do some research there. So that's homework
I'll
for me.
I'll tell you after we go off
I dig
because
it.
I
I dig
was
it.
recently told about it a couple of days ago, and then now it all makes sense. And I'm pretty sure. Watch, I'll tell you after. I'll tell you after.
No, I dig it. Okay, cool. So Justin's got some tricks up his sleeve. I love it. All right, so that is Justin's team. The next player on the list is Jay. Is you. So
Your boy.
Jay, this past weekend you dropped Mag Cargo and picked up the OG Raichu, and then you also made a trade. You traded Slowbro to Brendan for Overquill. What do you think about your team? What do you think about your transactions? And I'll share my thoughts after.
Yeah, bro. Start with the transactions. For me, I was really on the fence of what I wanted to go with on the wire. I kind of have like a small little trick room core, and I was like, maybe should I get Snorlax? You know what I mean? It'd be cool to have. It kind of reminds me of myself. We both sleep and eat, so I was like, that'd be cool to do. But overall, I just felt like, just asking around, people like Raichu, so I was like, I wouldn't mind having a little bit more speed as well for a little more protection for some of my water types as well.
Hmm.
I think it also has a pretty decent amount of utility with like Nuzzle. If I wanted to get real cheesy, I can like throw some sunglasses and go surfing if I wanted to go that route as well. Regarding the trade, I like Slowbro, but I like Overquill a lot more. I just think the design, to be honest with you, is super cool. It has two great abilities with the Intimidate and the Swift Swim as well. There's a lot of potential to set up there. I think that Poison Dark typing is a really good defensive typing with only one weakness, if I'm not mistaken, and it should be to ground. And I just like the fact that it hits harder. I also wanted Mama Puff and Mrs. Puff on the same team, to be honest with you. I wanted to bring the family back together.
No, that's
And
fair.
yeah, man, that's just my those are the moves for the week. But overall, I do like the team. I wanted to try something different. The past couple of years, I've been going with sun. I feel like I wanted to switch it up. Where I live, it's mostly cold for most of the year. So I was like, not super cold, but it rains fairly amount. So let's give it a shot. I have some familiars in Regieleki, which I remember I used that the season I went to finals, and that couldn't work for me. Pelipper was something that I've always seen. You know, a lot of other people use. So I was like, I want to give it a shot. Archaludon's probably the Pokemon I'm most excited for, just coming from out the DLC. I love its design. I love its the bridge of the concept. And the thing hits hard, man. Electro Shot's a really cool move. Combine that with stamina. Throw some Stalwart in there to get rid of the redirection. I think it's pretty dope. Hatterene, always been an admirer from afar. Never had the chance to get her. So when I saw a chance to get her, I had to. Aris, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. But the opportunity was there and I had to take it. Hisuian Quillfish, another one that I love the design. I think it's super underrated. Again, that typing with Eviolite makes it deceptively tanky, as well as it's annoying, man. Like you gotta deal with that blowfish, bro. You really blowfish. Toxic Croak just so that he moisturizes in the rain a little bit, you know what I mean, gets a little clean. Rotom Mow just because Rotom Wash wasn't there to be completely honest with you. And I and I needed a grass type. But again, I like the team. I definitely think there's a lot of potential going forward. I like having Mudsdale as well. Basque Legion is also a real sleeper. It's been doing a lot of work for me in scrims. I think it's going to be one of those mons that is going to catch a lot of people off guard as well. But overall, man, I like the team. I like the team that I drafted, and there's some changes that could be made. But for now, I do like what I cooked up. Initially, it may have been hot dog water, but we kind of, we're fixing it. We're fixing it.
No, that's fair. No, I think your team. I don't know about hot dog water. I think that your team. I mean, clearly around Rain. It's clearly centered around Rain. That's your the third pick in the draft. Uh, and then Archaludon just kind of supports, or it's a great Rain Mon. Regieleki, you can go for some Thunders if you wanted to, but and then you started to diversify, go with Hatterene, really good Trick Room setter. And then just kind of at that point, you can kind of go whichever direction you wanted. But then on the back end of the draft, to get the Basket Legion, freaking awesome. To get the Hisuian, wait, the Hisuian Quillfish. Did you draft that? You did.
Yes, sir. That was
Okay.
I think that was what was that? 10th pick? 10th pick, right over
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
10th round. Yep. And I mean, you just kind of shored up the rain core. I love it. I love your team, and overall, you did a great job. I love the trade for you too, and yeah, ultimately, I think it's going to be a fun season for you.
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you.
No, absolutely. All right. So next up is Brendan. Brendan this past weekend dropped two cannon and picked up Duraludon and traded Jay. I was like, he did something else. Hold on. So he picked up the Slowbro, the trade with Jay that we just kind of talked about. But then this is the flip side of that trade. So he got the Slowbro. So Brendan starts his draft off with Hisui and Ursaluna. So it's a slow. Is that that's a slow mon? I'm thinking
Yes.
Blood Moon for some reason. But yeah, Hisui and Ursaluna is a slow mon. Iron Valiant. Fun. Is that slow? Holy crap! I don't know. Um, Again, I'm gonna have to do some homework there too. But then Meowscarada, you have that flower trick. I think is the the name of the move that always crits. And then Taurus Blaze, Dustclops, one of arguably the best Trick Room setters in the game, picks up another one with Slowbro. So at that point, it looks like he's gonna go slow. A lot of his team does great under Trick Room. So at this point, he's kind of fully invested. Conkeldurr, great in Trick Room. So Titan, if he can, get some weather, I think that's going to be a really dangerous mon. Espathra gives him some flexibility because that has speed boost, so it's like I can go slow, that's fine, or I can go pretty darn fast. So Espathra's a good pickup. Belly Bolt, I think I used that for just a little bit in the off season, and I think it's pretty slow if I'm not mistaken. But then Sceptile, Duraludon is um, kind of ridiculous this year. I haven't played one with an Eviolite, but you can now. And then, like you kind of mentioned with Archaludon, you have that stamina. I think Duraludon still has that. It would make sense if it did, but I can't even imagine with an Eviolite what that's going to look like. So Brendan's team is dangerous, and Brendan is these past couple seasons. Brendan's been he's been a contender. He's competing with the big dogs, and when he gets dangerous Pokemon, his teams become dangerous, and he becomes dangerous as a player. So ultimately, I like the team. He's got options. He can go fast. He can go slow, and I like it. I like his team. Jay, what you think?
Love the team as well, man. Props to Brendan. Definitely, I think a great improvement from when he first started up until now. Fantastic trick room core. Also, these are very bulky Pokemon. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
his team is very bulky. There's barely anything on that team that will probably die in maybe a hit. I'm
Yeah.
looking at it now. I'm just like, I'm looking and I don't see anything. Dusclops isn't going down in one hit, or Saluna is definitely not going down in one hit. Duraludon, as we kind of touched on, even though it doesn't get the stamina, it
Okay.
still
Okay.
gets the stalwart. But the other two
Gotcha.
abilities are light and heavy metal, which I mean they're cool. But you're probably gonna want stalwart most of the time. Just get
Oh,
rid
for
of that
sure.
redirection. But yeah, a lot very, very bulky Pokemon on his team. And a lot of deceptively fast Pokemon. Yaskirada's pretty fast. Flower Chick, as you said, that always crits. Iron Valiant's fairly fast, base 116 speed.
Oh, geez.
Tauros Blaze is also a little bit of an annoying sleeper that can like mess up a lot of strats. Remember, like Raging Bull, that takes away screens. Keep that in mind. Um, so any pranksters that want to set up screens, don't do it. And I think Espathra is also a really good pick on his team too. It's a very, very solid team, and he could go a bunch of different routes with it, honestly.
No, I dig it. I really do. So that is Brendan's team. Next up, Ty. So Ty this past weekend dropped Leavanny, which I was clearly not a fan of when I did my review. And he picked up Victory Bell. So he swaps grass for grass. He picks up the Victory Bell. And Jay, how do you feel about Ty's team?
I like it, bro. I like the Victory Bell pickup. No offense to, to Levani, but I think I heard you in chat say that it's the only time you've never seen a Levani before. True. The only time I remember seeing it was when that gym leader in Gen 5 used it. I've never seen that ever since then, I'm not gonna lie to you. But I like the move. Victory Bell, it's one of the OG mons. It's to me, one of the more iconic mons just for its time on the anime. And I really do like it. It mixes really well with Dice team. He does have that chlorophyll. He wants to get real cheesy. He can run some wide lens strats. If you know, you know. And overall, man, I think I like the team. It's a pretty solid team. He does have a lot of great fast Pokemon. Infernape stands out. Victory Bell in the Sun counts as one as well. I also like the Salamence pick because Salamence itself is so versatile, going either physical or mixed attackers. The Pheasantipede is a new one. Reese came out with the Teal Mask DLC. Very, very bulky. Also a really nice typing in the Poison Fairy. Spiritomb, only one weakness, can do a lot and be super annoying if not dealt with immediately. Gliscor, I was really excited for Gliscor this gen because I feel like with Terra it can do so much. Though like if you want to keep like the poison heal with the toxic orb, you can kind of like still do that, but also swap out that ground flying typing for something a little bit more bulky. Well, Hisuian Samurai, I'm really excited for Jordan. Ceaseless Edge to me is a really cool move that I feel like can go really, really stupid if not like dealt with. And I don't think a lot of people are really going to be looking for it, but it is a really powerful move. And again, that thing it hits fairly hard. It can go for a little bit of priority with Aqua Jet. And I think it's a really good Pokemon, to be honest with you. The rest of the last four Staraptor's pretty solid. Tailwind, push Intimidate support. If you want to even be cheesy, you can go Final Gambit with that as well. Bruxish, Jordan's favorite Pokemon, as well. Big fan of the biting of the screens of the teeth. You know what I mean? But I
Yep,
like
yep.
the team from Ty this year, man. I think they're pretty nice team. I definitely think some improvements could be made, but again, it's only week not even technically two, still week one. And again, that could be said by everybody's team. Jordan, what are your thoughts on Ty's team this time around?
Yeah, no, I like it too. So Ty, I think in the past couple seasons, Ty's struggled with like cohesion. So he just has a lot of good Pokemon that don't necessarily play as well as they could together. In this season, it looks like he's kind of got things a little cleaned up with respect to cohesion. Because again, you start with Sun, and you can just kind of build around that. The Victory Bell pickup is perfect for that. It's got chlorophyll, so it's going to go fast, put things to sleep, hit hard, and then around that, he's just got some really cool Pokemon. Infernape can play well in the sun. Pheasantipity, like you mentioned, is a really tanky mon. That's pretty cool because you can just poison things. I think is it kind of poison touch? If they touch you, you can get poisoned. Is that
Yeah,
basically
that'd be the move itself is called Toxic Chain.
okay?
Essentially, yeah, it's like a crazier poison touch, honestly.
Gotcha. So it's just a fun mon. Spiritomb, again, one weakness, like you mentioned, is a tough mon to deal with because you're not really going to be hitting it super effective with anything. Gliscor is actually one of the Pokemon that I kind of attribute my competitive Pokemon, not career. I don't really have a career, but like that's one of the first Pokemon. The Toxic or Gliscor is like the first Pokemon that I've ever seen like in a competitive aspect, and I always have a soft place in my heart for it. And Hisuian and Samurai is kind of the same thing. It was my starter for Legends Arceus, so I think it's great design, even though it just looks like a regular Samurai, but that's okay.
Well, I mean, they look a little different, but okay, keep going.
A little different, a little the color palette maybe changed a little bit, but no, it's still a cool looking mon. And then Staraptor's fun. Bruxish, I hate Bruxish. I'm not even gonna mince words. Bruxish is terrible. I do not like it. But overall, Ty has a great core that he can build around, and I'm excited to see what he does this year. So good stuff, Ty. It's gonna be a fun season. Um, Aris is looking like a prime contender this year. I don't want to I don't even want to like just that's just the facts, right? So
Cap. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Aris this past weekend dropped Vileplume and picked up Snorlax, and he also made a trade that I think is pretty broken. It's not an unfair trade, but it's a broken trade for his team. He traded
Mm.
Chestnut, which is arguably, I will not debate this with you. Don't at me. Chestnut's arguably one of the worst starter Pokemon in the game.
All right, bro. Here we go.
But he got
You you you
Hisui and
you you
Lilligant.
have Embor on your team. Whatever, bro. Keep
Yo.
going.
Hold on. We'll get to my team. And
All
Embor,
right,
we
just
freaking
just saying, just saying.
we stand Embor now.
Okay. Oh, now we stand. Okay,
Now we
whatever,
do.
bro.
But
Continue.
he traded Chestnut to Evan for Hisui and Lilligant, and that on his team is very dangerous. So Reese starts much like Ty. He goes with fire, or he goes with drought. So a sun team in Torkoal picks up the Slitherwing as his second Asterisk Mon. Then he gets P2, which with Dusclops, that's arguably one of the best Trick Room setters in the game. Scrafty, Intimidate, Fake Out, freaking great on a Trick Room team. Araquanid, wonderful Trick Room Mon. Azumarill, dangerous. Not necessarily, it doesn't play as well in the sun, but you can set up a belly drum. You can do a lot of big things, huge power, choice band, things like that. Illumise, that's priority tailwind. Snorlax, again, he picked that up, or he got it in a, no, he picked it up, I'm sorry. He picked it up. Great, wonderful Trick Room Mon. You also got to worry about the belly drum there. Scovillain, I mean, it's got chlorophyll, freaking ridiculous. Dragalge, I could see him maybe moving Dragalge, or, he's always got plans for things. Hisui and Electrode, I think it's base 150 speed, so it's crazy quick. And then Hisui and Lilligant, it's got chlorophyll, and I think its attack is crazy, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, his team is looking, everything works well with everything else. And it's going to be crazy to see what he does with this team. I hope that he takes the season seriously because he can really do some damage if he does. And in the past, he'll say, I'm taking it a little light. I hope he doesn't do that at all this year. I want to see what Reese on 10 looks like from the jump. So I'm excited to see what he does. Jay, what do you think?
First of all, bro, I have a problem with you. First of all, you've obviously never sweat someone with body press, terra chestnut, and it shows. That's all I'm saying. Listen, bro, that's all I'm saying.
Yo,
Got a
wait, hold on, hold on,
trailblazer.
hold on, hold on, Jay, hold on. Have you ever
Yes,
seen? Have you ever
yes.
seen a chestnut in battle?
Yes, I have used that. Listen, when I'm on break at work, I do random showdown battles. There was I'll never forget it. Let me tell you a story real quick, right? I got a Trailblaze up, and I got a bunch of Iron Defenses, and I Terra fighting body press afterwards, and I won that match at least 6-0. So you know what, bro? If you want to hate, then hate, but don't be saying those crazy claims like that. You know what I mean? Just it just makes you look like a hater, bro. Like a
Ah,
real hater. Like, and it's not a good look on you. You know what I
that's
mean? I'm just
okay.
saying.
We'll see, Evan. If you can get a KO with chestnut this year,
Oh, here
I'll
we
give you
go.
$5.
Not the single KO. But I like the trade. All that being said, the trade to me was a little crazy. Not gonna lie to you. So with Lilligan, man, it's just like what scares me is just like the possibility for the victory dance sweeps. Victory dance being like the opposite of quiver dance, whereas opposed to doing special attack, special defense, speed, it does attack, defense, and speed.
Hmm.
Only exclusive to between Lilligan. But he can also kind of, if he wants to run hustle, he can run hustle as well, which is also pretty sick as well. Just give those moves a little bit of a boost. He's really feeling a little bit dangerous. Snorlax wire pickup, that to me is fantastic. As I said earlier, something I was looking at. I think on a Reese's team, it's even more scary with the kind of setup that he has. I think Arachnid's a really big sleeper. I think people aren't really focusing on what that Terra water plus water bubble plus liquidation can do.
Hmm.
A lot of great support Pokemon. I look at it through an Electrode. That's like a mini Regieleki. There's so many different ways it can be annoying. If you wanted to go Electro Web and just kind of maintain that speed control outside of Trick Room, he can. And Chloroblast just hits like a truck. Like I don't know why that move does so much, but it hits like a truck if you ever wanted to go like offense with it. Overall, man, I like the team. As I mentioned with Zach, out of the 8 seasons that we've completed. Zach has won 3. Reese has won 50% of those seasons. So very impressive record coming in as defending champ, and I'm excited to see what his team does, man. It's always a show when a Reese is on his A game.
Yeah, no, I agree. I couldn't agree more. So, going from a Reese to the opposite of a Reese. Not in a sense that Brian always loses, but he has Reese's number. Um, Brian Mills. So, this past weekend, Brian dropped Shiftry and picked up Hippowdon, the other
Mm.
sand setter. Jay, what do you think about Brian's team and transactions this past weekend?
I like how we have them both back to back. I forgot they were next to each other on the sheet, especially after the trash talk that happened earlier in the day, man. It's fantastic. But in terms of the moves, I love Brian's monopoly over sand. I think it's actually really funny how he has like all the sand support on his team at once.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Hippowdon is just another way to kind of like he wants to pivot out that Tyranitar, he wants to protect that Tyranitar a little bit more. Hippowdon is one of those Pokemon that can kind of eat those hits, eat those fighting type hits fairly well. Um, and overall, it's just like another way to kind of keep that sand up. Excadrill to me one of the best Pokemon in its respective role of being a sand sweeper. Poundstone is, as we kind of saw last season, a little underrated when it comes to what it can do. But now throw in the Sand Rush with the last respects in a dire situation that it's like a truck. I like Iron Thorns. I think for the aesthetic, I think Brian's a G for that. Imagine having regular Godzilla and Future Godzilla on the same team. Excuse me, Mecha Godzilla, same team. That to me is pretty fire. Household is full of great support moves. You can go with Follow Me. I think he also gets Super Fang, which I love Super Fang. If he wants to go that route, or if he wants to do the offensive population bomb, he can do that as well. Orphan to me is also a really nice pick on his team, just because it does protect the Tyranitar and the Iron Thorns from those ground moves that could be heading its way. Brian, notorious for the normal gem unburdened Hitmonlee, back at it again. As we can see, I like the Uxie pick as just kind of there, to be honest with you. But it's bulky, man. That's the thing. With Uxie is like with bulky Pokemon, if you they may not be an attacking threat, but if you let them linger for a while, then they can just do so much work. Like there's so many things that he can do with the Uxie. It's actually fantastic. Tauros Aqua, I was really jealous about this pick. I wanted Tauros Aqua, very similar to Tauros Blaze, that Raging Bolt that can destroy any screens, and that's when it comes to that. And I like the Torterra, bro. I think Torterra is going to be pretty solid on his team, um, as well. And you can even run some shenanigans with Earthquake, since Orpheum is there, and that goes for a lot of Pokemon on his team. So
Mhm.
overall, I think it's a really nice sand team, pure sand team in a sense. But I'm excited to see what Brian does with it.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun. His team is actually really fun because all the Pokemon on this team work together pretty well too. Like, I mean, it's pretty crazy actually. And then the Earthworm is there to soak up any earthquakes, his own included. He's got multiple sand abusers. Um, he's got two sands. It's a cool team. I mean, it's just that simple. And then the Mousehold. I mean, Brian and Mousehold, they kind of go hand in hand at this point, and it hurts my soul to say that because I love Mousehold. I just think it's probably one of the best designed Pokemons of all time. I freaking love it. But he gets it every year, so um, it's just an adorable mon. So his team is great. He has a Mousehold. He's got normal gem Hitmonlee. I freaking love his team. So Brian, it's gonna be fun. I love your freaking
Hmm.
team. It's cohesive and it's awesome. It's adorable. I love it. All right, so Jay Grants. So Jay Grants, this is her first year in the PLC. I think she's been a part of the PLC Facebook group for a long time, but competing wise, this is her first year. So she's one of our rookies this year. In this past weekend, she dropped Poliwrath and
Hmm.
picked up Leafeon. And overall, you basically the 12th round Mons, they typically do get dropped pretty quickly. Poliwrath, I don't think she really had anything to take advantage. I think it has Swift Swim. She doesn't have any rain, anything like that. So it makes sense to just kind of. I have Inteleon. I've already got Water. I've got Como. I've got Fighting if I want it. So I don't necessarily need this 12th round pick. So dropping that, picking up Leafeon. She didn't have a Grass type, so now she does, and it's always nice to have that type coverage. So I dig the move. And then ultimately, I like the team in general because Roaring Moon is actually so I didn't really have like a very strict draft board when I was going into the draft. I banked on Grimmsnarl being available, and luckily it was. But if it wasn't, I was considering Roaring Moon because with any Paradox Mons, maybe it's not any Paradox. Actually, I think it is right. If they run Booster Energy, you get the boost to the highest stat. So with Roaring
Yes.
Moon, you can go Booster Energy attack and do some crazy damage, or you can go Booster Energy speed and just be a +1 for free, right? So for that reason, Roaring Moon is a pretty dangerous Pokemon. It's got access to Tailwind, so you can kind of go Booster Speed. You can have Tailwind up for essentially free. And then Ceruledge is freaking awesome. Its design is freaking spectacular. Raikou is a great Pokemon as well. I think it's pretty tanky. You can run an AV. You can go Snarl. I'm sure you probably have like Thunderwave and stuff like that as well. So it's a pretty good support mon. And then I think it's fast enough and strong enough to run a Scarf or Specs if you'd like, or is it banned? I don't know if it's physical or special. Got to do my homework because I face it this week. But Chandelure, that's another Ghost type mon with the Ceruledge. Just got to be mindful of Dark type moves. Sui and Zoroark, I'm a sucker for Zoroark. It's a great fire type. And now that you can Terra Fire it, I freaking love it. I freaking adore it. Inteleon, my what is that, Gen 8 starter. Love Inteleon. Como, I hate Como. It's a worthless Pokemon. You should probably drop that, Jay. And I'm not.
Jesus Christ.
I do not like Como. Now it's better because you can Terra away from the 4 times weakness to Fairy type moves. But Como, I'm not a fan. I'm notoriously not a fan of Como. Gardevoir, I do like Gardevoir, so that's awesome. And then OG Articuno. Articuno is always fun. And again, you can kind of tear away from the 4 times rock weakness with Articuno now, so I think it's better this year, better this generation than it's ever been. Noivern, that's another Tailwind setter. Electros, it's I think that's is it weak to rock maybe? Because I know it's not weak to ground because of levitate. So I think it may have one weakness, if any, actually.
Nah, that'll be no weaknesses
Yeah, yeah,
with the
exactly.
levitate.
So you gotta plan accordingly because you cannot hit it super effectively. So ultimately, I like your team. It's got a lot of different types. It's got a lot of really good ones, and I think she did a great job for her first draft, picking a pretty solid group of mons. I dig it. Jay, what you think?
Yeah, I think so. So I think it's a lot of solid mons on a composed on the team. Honestly, I think the Como Slender for someone who employs Luxray every season is a little crazy. But besides that, the only thing I would have to say to my fellow Jay is, do you think there is a little bit of lacking support Pokemon on the team? To be honest with you, I think there's a lot of potential there, but I feel like there's kind of 1 or 2 months missing that really ties them all together. But again, there's a potential. And again, it is only week one, but I do like the team. I think there is a lot of potential going forward, but I would look to probably maybe if there's a prankster, maybe get a trade for or anything like that. I feel like that would do wonders for this team, just because like once speed control is lost, things could kind of get a little bit out of control, even with the priority that some of the Pokemon may have in the moveset. But I think it's a good team. It's a good team.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a great job for the first effort in the PLC. It's really cool. All right, so next is my team, and Jay, we'll let you speak to it first. I'll kind of get your thoughts, and I'll provide some input. But
Yeah, bro, this team is ass. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you, this might be the worst team that I've seen so far. Like, this team is terrible. Like,
all
oof.
right, now, no, it's not that bad, but I mean, so, admittedly, it's not great to be honest. But
I wouldn't say that, but let me
yeah,
ask. So Jordan,
Mhm.
this week you dropped more Pico, you picked up Bisharp, decided not to do a trade this week. Love the move first and foremost. I think Eli Bisharp is going to be a fantastic player for you going forward. Honestly, a lot of the kind of cool King Gambit tech that a lot of people have been like coming up with, Bisharp can do as well. Especially with a little bit added bulk, I think that will do wonders. And I think Terra Bisharp is going to be a monster for you going forward in the season. But I like the team, man. I like the Grim Snarl, being able just to set those screens, hit those thunder waves. Suicune, even though it did lose Scald, can be very annoying if not dealt with. The Friend Guard on the Clefairy is gonna keep a lot of those bulk Pokemon you have, such as the Weezing, the Grim Snarl, Suicune. It's gonna take even more hits to kind of take those down. We spoke a little bit about Malamar, I believe, a couple days ago. I think you can definitely catch a lot of people off guard with like what you. I won't put your strategy out there, but I think it'll be good for you. I love Alolan Persian. For me, it's one of the best versatile mons that I've ever probably used in our format. There's the fake out. You can go with the snarl. You can go with the taunt. If you want to be really annoying, you can even go with the quash, which is like kind of something that people were expecting. Love the Blaziken. Luxray's okay, I guess. As long as it has crunch instead of bite, I think there's a lot of potential there. Does Luxray get Super Cell Slam by any chance,
Ooh, I
Jordan?
don't
Do you
know
know?
actually. No, I'm not sure. I really don't.
We will find that out in a couple moments.
Yeah.
And again, I like Bisharp Embor, even though with what I said earlier, I don't think there's a bad starter. I don't think, yeah, let me rephrase that. There's not a bad starter. Meganium's cool, Embor's cool, Chestnut's cool. They're all cool, man. You know what I mean? And I like Embor. Embor's has like a really like unexpected, diverse moveset. And aesthetically, I think it has one of the best shinies I've ever seen, to be honest with
Oh
you. Like
yeah,
the
it's
blue
shiny
fire
is
usually are.
it's nasty. That shiny is gross. Yep.
But I like your team, man. I forgot to hit 'em on top. It's been a while since I've seen you run that. It's like Galarian Articuno is there as well. I like Galarian Articuno. Just there's a lot of potential there as well. Remind me again, Galarian Articuno gets what ability? I know it boosts
Competitive, yeah.
competitive, yes, competitive. And I think you can run out some nice little cheese with that, and the thing hits pretty hard as well with that nice special attack stat. So I like the team, bro. I think you did a solid job this time around.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, it's a team that coming out. I feel like I've got some good mons. I could use a little bit of cohesion, but I feel like I have some good support. Which I mean, Clefairy is a pretty good support mon. You know what I mean? So if you have that next to a Pokemon that's dangerous, Clefairy is a great support mon. So it's a great little partner for a dangerous, hard hitter. Same thing with Hitmontop, some good utility there. Grimmsnarl is like the ultimate utility tool, and I'm glad I got that. But ultimately, I mean, I do like the team. The Bisharp is actually pretty awesome. I kind of had this idea that Bisharp in past seasons has been good because it's Bisharp. It's pretty cool. You can Sucker Punch, you can Swords Dance, you can knock off, you can Iron Head, get some big damage off that way. And it's also an Intimidate deterrent because you don't want to intimidate it because it's got Defiant. But now that you can run Eviolite with it, it's like, did Bisharp just get better? You know what I mean? So that's kind of my thought process there. I've never, ever, ever been a fan of Embor. Ever, 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 ever. But I picked it up like a week or two ago in like a rental code, and it was dope. And I was like, this Pokemon's pretty cool. So to end up with it in the 12th round, I actually do like it a lot. So it's a pretty cool Pokemon. So I was in the mindset in the past that Emboar was one of the worst starter Pokemon, but now that's clearly Meganium and Chestnut. Clearly Meganium and Chestnut,
Hold on,
not
bro.
Emboar.
Like, hold on, like, bro. As as we said, there's no bad starter.
Except
Again,
for
Jordan has never swept with Chestnut, so he doesn't understand. Knowing you probably chose Cyndaquil in Gen 2, didn't you?
my first playthrough I had for Alligator. So
Oh, okay. Well, I picked Cyndaquil. That's not the point. But guess what? Listen, let me tell you something about Meganium, bro.
let's hear it.
But yeah, up next we have
Oh,
Dan. I think Dan has a pretty solid team. Do you want to speak about Dan's transaction for a little bit, Jordan? I'll go into his team.
yeah. So Dan, this past weekend, didn't make any trades, but did drop Lantern and picked up Thwacky.
As a Thwacky enthusiast, I'm sure you were a big fan of this move. And I like it too, man. Kind of nice little double terrain he kind of has going there with the Indeedee Mail and the Thwacky. And overall, I like Dan's team a lot. I think Iron Moth is going to be super valuable for him going forward. The thing hits like a truck. And again, he does have that grassy terrain now to kind of lower those incoming ground moves towards it as well, which I think is pretty cool. Sinistcha, one of the new Pokemon coming out of the Teal Mass, Hospitality is a really cool ability just coming out of, Pokemon, being able to kind of restore those friends that you got by your side. I think that's pretty solid as well. Machagacha is also a really stupid move. That's a stupid move. I don't know why they added that move in, but that's a stupid move right there. Reggie Steel, I like Reggie Steel. You know what I mean? I think I've been saying this a lot, but the thing about those bulky Pokemon is you can't let them linger or they'll make you
Mm-hmm.
pay.
Mm-hmm.
Once he gets that first Iron Defense off, man, he starts getting those body presses going. If he wants, he could even like make the thing explode, which to me is pretty cool as well. Crocodile, a lot of different ways he can go. If he wants to be really cheesy and do some anger point strats, he could go with that as well. Or go with the classic Intimidate, maybe you throw Moxie in there. I feel like I haven't seen Drifblim in a while, but I feel like it's still as annoying as I remember, man. So much different cheesy utility you could do with it. If you want to do like a kind of nice little seed with some terrain, get that unburden boost, so it's probably the fastest supporting mon on the field at that point. I think it's really cool. I think Dan's favorite Pokemon is Feraligatr. Dan, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like it is. I could be wrong though.
I
And
think
I'm
you're right. Yeah.
yeah, man. It's hard. Sheer Force Life Orb with a little bit of waterfall up in there. Throw a nice little dragon dance, maybe even some dragon terror in there. And it's, a nice little dragon right there. Cyclodar, I think for the way it kind of dropped, I think it's really underrated pick. I think Shed Tail's a really annoying move. I don't know why they put in the game, but it's cool. It's cool. It's a really cool move. Cyclodar itself is extremely fast, and like he could cheese with it. He could definitely cheese with it. And I think I like his cry. I think it has a really nice cry. Gallade is cool. He could kind of redirect those trip rooms. I think the buff giving it sharpness is a fantastic kind of long time coming kind of thing. Because I think
Mhm.
for a lot of people, you were stuck with kind of Justified or Inner Focus as the main one. Now you can do a lot more damage with some of those Leaf Blades, the Psycho Cuts as well. There's a lot of different cutting moves in this game that now Gallade can take advantage of. I don't know how to pronounce his name, Jordan. Please correct wrong. Grafai. I'm pretty
That sounds good to me. Yeah.
Grafai, man. I think the normal poison is a really underrated typing, and I think the prankster that this Pokemon's gonna have, the jokes it's gonna pull on these people are gonna be hilarious to watch. I like Alolan Golem because he has a cool mustache. He also can make himself explode. And we spoke about Thwacky a little bit, man. It's like a mini little Rillaboom, throwing a little Eviolite on there, increase that bulk, can go for those grassy glides, can go for that wood hammer, hit the fake out as well. He could also kind of, if he wants to go drain punch, high horsepower on it, I think it'll also be pretty fantastic as well. And overall, it's a really good team, man. I like it a lot. I do think that that Matcha Gotcha should be like, you know, put in the trash. I think we should lean more towards dark coffee kind of what's something that starts with a D, dark coffee deaths as our main move, respectfully. But continue. I'm sorry, Jordan. What are your thoughts on Dan's squad this time around?
No, I mean it's fun. It feels very Dan. It feels like a very Dan team. He did. I mean, for Alligator, when anytime you can get like your favorite mon, kind of like Justin, we spoke to that Lucario a long time ago now. But just anytime you get someone like that gets their one of their favorite mons, it's kind of cool to see. But he gets for Alligator, which is awesome. But Iron Moth, like you mentioned, it's very dangerous, very fast. Special attack is crazy. Sin is just freaking awesome. One of these new DLC mons. And Machagacha, it's got a chance to it gives health back. It's like a Giga Drain, isn't it? But it also has a chance to burn. Is that the effects of it? Is it those two
Essentially,
things?
yeah. So
Okay.
it's like a strong Giga Drain, but it could also leave a burn.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, yeah. So it is a pretty nasty move, to be honest. Anytime you can burn a physical attacker, you are going to be in a great spot. And then he gets Indeedee Mail. That's obviously another what's the freaking word? I can't think of terrain setter. Um, so he's got terrain in two different modes, which is freaking sweet. Anytime you can kind of play that mental game where it's like, which one am I going to bring this week? What do you think? If you plan wrong, you're not going to be in a great spot. Registeel, again, if you let that Pokemon sit around, it's going to be trouble. Crocodile, you can run that in so many different ways. Drifblim, with the terrains is freaking perfect. You love to see it. And then again, Cyclizar Shedtail is something that we haven't really seen utilized in the PLC as much as we probably should or could. So I'm excited to see what he does with that this year. And then Gallade gets a much needed buff. Grafai, it's not only got a funny name, but it's got a really great ability in Prankster. So that's going to be Prankster Mons are just valuable because of Prankster's incredible. I love it. And then Alolan Golem does have a mustache, so he's cool. But yeah, Dan's got a great team. And again, it feels like a very Dan team, and I mean that in a good way. I like it. So
Yeah.
great job. Yeah, great team, Dan. Um, all right, so moving on to Isamu. This is another rookie this year. And Isamu, I don't think he's been a part of the group as long as Jade Grants has, but I think he's been around for a little bit. But this is his first time throwing his hat in the ring and competing with us, so it's exciting to have another rookie this year. Isamu, welcome. And the team that you have is ultimately, I think, is pretty good. So let's jump into the first pick, though. So I feel like the first pick, OG Weezing, is it's a little bit of a questionable first pick. It's a good pick, it's a good pick because its ability is great. You can run, I don't even know the name of the ability, but you can shut down abilities, which is freaking awesome, right? The ability to do that alone is great. And then I think its other ability is levitate still. So that takes away your ground weakness. So it's a good Pokemon. I just don't know if it was the best first pick because even like you look at like two picks later, Politoed goes to Ian, and then Mike gets in DD female, um, and then I mean Slacking goes a few picks after, which maybe that was his idea. Is I'm gonna go with his Wheezing, and then I'm gonna get Slacking when it comes back around, but that just didn't happen. Perhaps that
Hmm.
was the mindset there. But again, it's a good mon, but it's just the Pokemon itself maybe not the best first pick. And I actually got ahead of myself because Isamu, I was talking about you being new to the group. I forgot to talk about your transaction this past week, and the very next Pokemon is that transaction, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into that really quickly. Isamu dropped Cresselia and picked up Latios, which Latios is good. I've actually heard really good things, and I've heard that it's better this generation. It's better than it has been in prior generations. And Jay, maybe you can speak to that. I don't remember the conversation around that, but I have heard that Latios is a really good mon now. It's been a good mon, so it's not anything new, but it's a really good mon in Generation 9 specifically. But even with the pick, though, again, Latios is good. Don't get me wrong. But Cresselia was your second pick, though. You know what I mean? So, like, the first pick, it was, I think it was a little questionable. I think it's fair to say that. But then the second pick, typically, the bonds that get dropped in the first week's weekend's transactions are not like your first, second, third picks. But maybe he just, again, we didn't know what was on the wire, of course. So the ability to get Latias was just exciting for him. And he said, you know what, I'm going to do it. So regardless of where I picked him on, I'm going to get this Latias. So ultimately, Latias is a good Pokemon, so I'm excited to see what you do with it. But going forward, Mimikyu, a great Trick Room setter. Its ability is freaking awesome. Entei, so finishing up the legendary Beast Trio. Entei is a great mon. Right now, it's kind of ruling VGC. It's got extreme speed. You cannot fake it out. You cannot intimidate it. It's a great Pokemon for those reasons. Um, Toedscruel, I think is something I tried to use a little bit last year. I think it's got a funny looking run, which is pretty funny. Empoleon got a much needed buff this year. I think it has competitive now as opposed to Defiant, or maybe I have those backwards. But it's got one of those abilities that actually boosts the stat that it wants to boost this time around, so that's good. Hawlucha, if Isamu can get a terrain, Hawlucha can be that much more dangerous. So maybe that's something that you keep in mind, Isamu, because the ability, what is it, Unburden? I think Hawlucha has that as well, right, Jay? Am I not mistaken in saying that?
No, you are correct.
Yeah, so it's if you get a terrain, that's freaking sweet. Go ahead and do that. I mean, or if you can just get rid of an item in general, I suppose that works too. But a terrain is a very easy way to do that. Meloetta. So I've actually never used Meloetta. I actually don't even know if I have a Meloetta in my entire like Pokemon playing life. I don't think I've ever caught one. So I don't know much about it, but it'll be fun to see what that does. Alcremie, that is a Pokemon that I think I think we've seen it in past seasons. I know for a fact I played it in season 6 because I played SB and he had it. I think I might have played it twice that year on SB's team. I know once was in finals, if I'm not mistaken. But then Skarmory. Skarmory's a fun Pokemon. I think you probably have Tailwind support there. Not entirely sure. But then Carbink and Alolan Sandslash. So Alolan Sandslash, if you can get some snow or some hail, that's gonna be freaking sweet. But ultimately, I feel like the team could maybe use a little bit of cohesion. But maybe there's something that you're seeing, Jay, that I'm just missing right now. But what do you think about Isamu's team this year?
No, I'm gonna echo that statement. I just think there could be a little bit more cohesion on the team. Um, the Weezing pick, a little sus. But overall, I don't think it's a bad pick. I just think kind of the point you made where you see what went afterwards. I think maybe that could have maybe went something a little bit different. I do like the Latias Cresselia swap because I feel like maybe his team wasn't exactly built for Trick Room, which is a lot
Yeah,
of times we see Cresselia as like that bulky Trick Room setter
that's a good
that
point.
can stay there and still put in a little bit of work. The big buff to Latios and Latias was that the signature move they have, Luster Purge, it was buffed. So before it had 75 damage, now it's 90.
Okay.
100% accuracy, and it has a 50% chance to lower the opponent's special defense if it hits.
Ooh,
As
that's sweet.
before, where I don't think that effect was there, but again, most people would I think run either psychic or psyshock over it most of the time. But now just having like that, keep in mind, with the soul do, I believe that's what it's called. This is the signature move which boosts their psychic and dragon type moves. I think that's gonna be a hidden damage dealer. I think Light is still in the wire as well, so that's interesting for a lot of people who are maybe looking to potentially move Asterisk towards the end of the week. We'll see. But overall, I think it's a good team. There just needs maybe a couple more months, just kind of tie it all together in a sense. The Alolan Sandslash is kind of like the odd man out, to be honest with you. But again, there's a lot of time to fix that slot. But the potential's there. There's a lot of good, really Pokemon on this team. There just needs to be something that the Skarmory's there, which is a great Pokemon in its own right, but there has to be a little bit more to kind of make that a cohesive team.
Yeah, no, I think that's entirely fair. So Isamu, welcome to the PLC. It's gonna be fun to have you this year, and it's gonna be a great season. So welcome. SB is a player who's been with us for a few years, and this past weekend, SB dropped Granbull and picked up Gyarados. So swapped an Intimidator for an Intimidator, and yeah, Jay, what do you think about that?
I like the move a lot. I think Gyarados has a little bit more utility that I think Granbull doesn't have. The very signature Thunder Wave Gyarados that Jordan's a really big fan of. I think that could be something that could go into play as well. And overall, man, with every team, yeah, there's a lot of Pokemon here that I feel like again could use a little bit more support. I think Metagross is a great Pokemon. Screamtail, I think is okay, but there's a lot of different shenanigans that you can do with that. You can go for like the singing if you want to do that as well. Skeledirge itself is a very bulky monster. I like Swampert too. The Volby pick is nice because it does it gives you the access to kind of help a lot of the things below. What I mean by that is if she wants to do the rain dance, that'll help the vehicle with a little bit more super effective thunder, not super effective, more accurate thunders. The Kingdra is there as well, so it gets that speed boost. And he can also now do the Dragon Cheer with the Kingdra, since now that's been patched, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, yep.
As the time of this recording, it may I know it was announced, it could be patched, but if someone knows, just correct us if I'm wrong. His Swing Decidueye, I like a lot. What's the one that I chose when I started Legends Arceus. I think Triple Arrows is a really like it's a real cheesy move, but it's gonna go really nice if it goes well in his favor. I believe it's one can crit, one can drop the defense, and I forgot what the third one is. I would have to double check. Jordan, check that for me
Hmm.
if you can. And then Cincino, I like Cincino because it's known as the cleaner Pokemon, and that's kind of like that's me. That's the cleaner. That's like my twin. And it puts in work, man. There's a lot of like kind of I mentioned Chino for our little scrims. I thought was pretty chill. And I like Rampardos. Rampardos is the classic hits super hard, but loses to almost everything faster than it just because I think it's like what base 180, 170 attack, but it just gets outsped and then the rock typing isn't the greatest. So like especially surf and like muddy water and a lot of the common moves that we see in our meta kind of deal with it pretty handily. Probably Rampardos. I think if he can make it work with the Volby and a lot of the other Pokemon on his team, I think there's a lot of potential there. And I like the team by SB. Again, I still think it needs a little bit more cohesion, but there's going to be more opportunities for that as the weeks go by.
Yeah, no, there definitely is. Every weekend we do this, and every weekend is an opportunity to make some changes to the team. So yeah, there's definitely an opportunity for to build some cohesion with the team going forward. But right now, yeah, I mean, Metagross is an awesome pick because Metagross, can it get burned? No, am I tripping? It can't get intimidated.
It can get burned,
Right,
however,
right.
it can't be intimidated and like let's say if it gets hit by like I don't know, what's a move that drops attack when it's used? Let's say it gets hit by like um a chilling water, then it
Right.
still doesn't get its attack drop.
Right, right. So it's a mon that's always dangerous. You can go with some bullet punches. You're gonna get stabbed. It's gonna be freaking powerful. Screamtail again. I've seen Screamtail, a little bit in VGC. It's a very niche mon though. It was a wolf ran it and won a regional with it, so it's not a bad Pokemon. But it was doing Perish Song things, which I feel like you've got to be a pretty. Perish Song is not an easy thing to run, especially in our meta. 6v6 is a little bit different than 4v4. So to run Perish Song in our meta, you've got to be you got to be a pretty dangerous player. But Skeledirge is fun. Swampert, those are two starter Pokemon I can appreciate. Skeledirge, not so much because of its design. I'm just not a fan for some reason.
Whoa, whoa,
I know.
whoa.
I should be.
What is up with
Look,
you
I
and the
should be.
starters,
I
bro?
should
It's the
be.
first episode back, and you just hating on all the OGs. That's crazy about you.
Well, no, I should be, but it's like a Day of the Dead thing, which I can appreciate coming from Hispanic culture myself, Mexican culture. But I just don't know. It's just not my thing. I think it's the head. It looks bald. I don't know what it is. But Swampert cool. But Volbeat, so I think Volbeat you can also run Tailwind on that, so that's like a free Tailwind anytime. Monkey Dory is another Pokemon that I think they all have Toxic Chain, right? They all have the
Yeah.
same ability, so that's cool. And Hisuian Decidueye is aesthetically a really awesome Pokemon. So I picked Hisui and Samurott to play Legends Arceus, but Decidueye was it was tough choosing between the two because that design is peak Pokemon design. Vikavolt is always a good Pokemon. Its special defense is nasty. It's kind of slow, but its special defense is pretty sick. So if you can get Trick Room up, it's going to do some damage. Kingdra, I think Dragon Cheer is patched, so Dragon Cheer is good. So I'm fairly certain. But again, if you know for sure, just put a comment on this video or drop it in chat. But I'm like 99.9% sure that it's good to go. Cincino or Cinchino, I think I ran that during one of our, I don't know if it was an off season or if it was a season, but you can run, it's very fast, and I think you can run Hypnosis, I think is what I did with Wide Lens, and that was pretty cool. I'm pretty sure you also have Super Fang. A lot of those mousy Pokemon do have that. I'm not sure if you get Fake Out though, which would be nice, but I'm just not 100% sure. But then dropping Gramble to pick up Gyarados, that's an upgrade. I feel like that's an upgrade no matter which way you flip it because Gyarados is, they both have Intimidate, but Gyarados has a little bit more utility. It's got higher base stats, so it is an upgrade. So I understand it. Rampardos, like you'd mentioned, it's just a Pokemon that can do some big damage. Don't get me wrong, but it's going to go down pretty quickly. So you just got to have a plan for Rampardos if you're using it. But yeah,
Yep.
SB pretty fun team. So good stuff.
Yes. I just want to touch real briefly. I know we kind of said it earlier. So with triple arrows, it can
Right.
either lower defense, it can flinch the opponent, or it can be a critical hit. And this can all
Ooh.
happen within the same sequence of moves. So keep in mind, like it's very unlikely to happen, but just know there is a chance. And also for clarification, Jordan, I think I may have told you the wrong thing earlier. With Toxic Chain, it's as we're posing point where it just poisons it. Toxic Chain does the badly poison, so the worst one that does the
Ooh.
more ticking as
I
time goes
freaking
by.
yeah, I dig that. That puts you on a timer for real. That's not fun. So like, that is gonna be fun it's gonna be fun for us to watch, planning for it and playing it.
Yes.
Maybe not so much, but that is pretty awesome.
Hmm.
So
And keep in mind that is also on any move. So it's poison point where you have to do a contact move to get that.
mm,
If you hit any of the loyal three with any move, there is a chance that you will get badly poisoned.
that's disgusting. Oh, that's nasty. I freaking love it. Okay, that's freaking sick. So great job with that pick, SB. That's freaking sweet. Um, but yeah, overall, great team. I love it. So Ian, this is one of our OGs, been with us all 8 seasons to this point, 9 with this one. So Ian dropped Arbok and picked up Lucario. We'll talk about that in a second. Well, actually, let's talk about it now because Ian trades Lucario to Justin for Mamoswine. So the transaction is borderline evil genius. I think it's fair to say. I think it's fair to say it's borderline evil genius because I don't necessarily think he intended solely for that to be the reason. Hey, I'm going to pick up Lucario just to trade it to Justin. But we all knew Justin wanted to roll with it. And I think that's got to be a little bit of the conversation, right? Now I'm gonna pick this Lucario because Justin ultimately what he did, if you look at it, is traded his second overall pick for it. So it's like that was Ian turned his 12th round Pokemon into Weather for free. So it's like it's pretty dope. No, wait, Amazon doesn't get Weather. What am I talking about? Does it? No. He turned it into a really good Pokemon though. Outside of being Arbok, which you could potentially intimidate, and it's not really going to do much else outside of that. But ultimately, I mean, I like the moves, and then the team as a whole, like Polytoad. Anytime you have Weather in this format, in our format, in our meta. It's freaking awesome, and Politoed is a great Pokemon. Dragapult is one of the faster. I think it's probably top 3, top 4, top 5 for certain. Fastest Pokemon in our game. Okidogi, that's one of the loyal 3. Klefki is disgusting. Klefki is gross. You've got to have a plan for Klefki, and Klefki is just a great Pokemon. Clefable, I have Clefairy, and Clefable does a lot of the same stuff. It's not as tanky, I don't think, because you can't run Eviolite, but I think you get a little bit more damage output as a trade-off. But I think you probably get a lot of the same support moves. Garganackle is an awesome Pokemon as well. I think, Ian, did he run Garganackle last year? I'm pretty sure he did. Scizor is a great Pokemon, especially in rain, because it's less susceptible to getting hit by a fire type move, so that's awesome. Ludicolo, great Pokemon in rain for obvious reasons. Reuniclus, if you don't want to go fast with the rain, you can go slow with the Trick Room, so I love that as well. Regice, I really need to see, Jay, does Mamoswine get snow? Am I
No,
tripping?
in
Okay.
in terms of like an ability,
Yeah,
as in
yeah,
like
yeah.
snow warning, no. It
Okay.
gets thick fat, it gets snow cloak, which is kind of cool in
Okay.
hail, and I believe it gets I forgot the third ability, but I will get back to you on that in a second.
No, I was tripping. I was like, is there? It does it have it? Because I think Regice would get the defense boost in snow, if that was the case. But no, Regice is fun. So that's just a mon that you get in the 10th round. You'll take that. I think Regice's defense is nasty. One of its defense or its special defense, maybe both actually. Now that I think about it, but one of those is disgustingly high. And then Crawdaunt, that's another Pokemon that in the rain can do some huge damage. I think it's got adaptability, if I'm not mistaken, and if you're getting hit with I mean, you don't have to Terra, but if you get hit with like a Terra Water Aqua Jet in rain with adaptability, I think that's pretty freaking nasty. So you just got to keep that in mind as you play Ian. But ultimately, I like his team, and it feels like a very Ian team as well because the Garganackle, the Scizor, the Politoed, the Ludicolo. I feel like these are even the Clefable. Maybe I feel like these are Pokemon that we've seen. Klefki for sure. It's like we've seen Ian play with these Pokemon, and it feels like a very Ian team. But I do like it. It's awesome.
I agree 100%. There are definitely a lot of familiar faces. Ludicolo, I'm sure he's had before, but everything from Klefki down until I want to say like maybe Reuniclus is things we've probably seen Ian run before, but Politoed I've seen him use before numerous times as well. The third ability on Mamoswine is Oblivious,
Mm-hmm.
so it can't be intimidated or taunted, pretty
Gotcha.
much, which is pretty useful in great circumstances. But I like the team a lot. I do. The only thing is I think I've told you in this, I think this team is very screens reliant. I feel like once the screens go down, there's a lot of things on this team that are very 4 times weak to very common types. I'm
Mm.
lying, there's only like 2. But they're still not the bulkiest bunch, except for Okidoki. But I feel like once he gets past kind of like that reliance on screen. Well, I'm not saying that Ian's just screen reliant because Ian does work. Don't get me wrong, Ian does work. But I do want to see a little bit more. I don't want to say creativity, but something a little, something we haven't really seen before. And I know that's what Ian's always kind of thinking about plotting. I think that's probably his strongest point. That he is very creative with his sets, and he will hit you with the random seed bomb life hard out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like things like that.
For
And
sure.
I think need a little bit more of a splash of that just because we've seen a lot of these Pokemon in previous seasons before. But again, that to say, it is a really good team, and I'm very excited to see what exactly he's going to be cooking up in the rest of the weeks we have here. But it's a really good team.
No, absolutely, it is, and Ian's a great player too. So it's gonna be fun to see what he does in season 9. All right, going on to Mike. This past weekend, Mike dropped Colossal, which was his 12th round pick, and picked up Haxorus. Jay, take it away.
Yeah, man, return of my fellow young buck, just
Yes,
coming
sir.
out, killing the Tekken circuit, now back in the PLC. In terms of the move, I like I like Haxorus more, to be honest with you. Just because the kind of colossal shenanigans we saw in Sword and Shield, they're not really that relevant,
Mm-hmm.
in this point going forward. Like there are certain things you probably could have done, but it's like, is it really worth like investing a turn into it now that you don't get that increased bulk from Dynamax? I don't think it is personally, but to each his own. And Haxorus, man, Haxorus is deceptively bulky, and the thing hits like a truck. If you throw a Choice Scarf on there, it could definitely catch you off guard. I think if you run a Clear Amulet on it, so it can't be intimidated or have its stats lower, I think it's even more scary. But I like Mike's team. The solid and DD Armor Rouge core, which I believe you had for a little bit, didn't you, Jordan?
Yeah, last season. Yep.
Pretty solid core. Can do that sweet expanding force spam. You know what I mean? A little redirection up there as well. Primarina, saw very solid under Trick Room if you want to go that route as well. Liquid Voice, Hyper Voice hits like a truck. Throw some thruster on there, and it's gonna be even more crazy. He has the Gastron there to protect the Armor Rouge, the Iron Treads, and the Rotom Heat from incoming water. He can also do a lot of annoying shenanigans with the Gastron if he wanted to. He can run the Toxic, he can run the Stockpile, and that recover set as well to kind of get the HP back as the match goes by. It's pretty dope. Iron Treads, I've always been on the fence about because I just think I compare it to Great Tusk, and I think Great Tusk is so much better, both typing wise and overall like kind of stat distribution wise. Because I feel like the problem with Iron Treads is supposed to Great Tusk that Great Tusk you know is gonna hit hard. Iron Iron Treads itself is doesn't have bad stats, but it's also not out of this world. And I'm eager to see what Mike does fix. I think Mike is someone who can truly bring out the potential and make it shine. So I'm eager to see what it does. Not too much to say on that one, but the superior pick I like. Contrary, this generation is absolutely broken. Rotom Heat is a very solid Pokemon, having very few weaknesses, only I believe to Water and Rock, but he has the Gastrodon to kind of cover for that. Mien Shao, very fast support, fake out support, can also hit like a truck with high jump kick, knockout, you could throw a drain punch in there. I think the Mastiff is one of the coolest dogs that kind of came out this generation. We kind of had like a group of dogs kind of come out. I think you can go with the Intimidate. You can also go with the Guard Dog, which can kind of be like it could be a little cheesy, but it could work in the in the right scenario. I think Galarian Slowking going that low is a very underrated pick, just because I think it's very bulky, and I think the moves that it can do under Trick Room, whether it just be like if you want to go Toxic, you want to go Calm Mind, or if you want to go with I forgot the name of the signature move. I think it's like something magic, something like that. That's also kind of, and I'll get back to you on that one. I think it's something that can be utilized to its maximum potential. Yen Mega is cool. I'm eager to see what Mike does with it, but I don't know. I've never been too keen on Young Mega. I think the design is fantastic. I think Speed Boost is a great ability. I'm not sure if it gets Tailwind. I'd have to look that up. But overall, I think it's a pretty solid team, top to bottom. And I think there's a lot of different ways that Mike can protect his more popular assets from danger. What do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, no, Mike. It's exciting to have Mike back. So first, I'll say that. But yeah, Mike's team is fun, especially. I mean, the first, I would say four. I would say, yeah, I'd say four for sure. Four for sure. His first four Pokemon are just. I don't even know if there's like looking back. I don't know if there's a better top four. His top four Pokemon are freaking spectacular. I freaking love them. Indeedee Armarouge is nasty for obvious reasons, but Expanding Force is pretty sick. You can run some cheese with those two. Primarina, I think Primarina led the league in KOs in like season 3 or something like that, back when we could take stats. And I was running it back then, and Primarina is freaking awesome. So I think at that season, season 2, season 3, season 4, something like that, whatever it was, is when it got its hidden ability, and it just became that much better. You know what I mean? So Primarina is awesome. Gastrodon, like you said, you can even run Yawn with it, and Yawn in our meta is pretty nasty because it forces people to think: do you want to leave this in, let it go to sleep? Do you want to switch it out, take the hit that's likely coming? And Gastrodon's just a tanky mon in general, and then you can really screw yourself by trying to hit something like the Rotom or like the Indi or the Armarouge or an Iron Treads with like a water type move, and you can end up it can backfire pretty quickly. by giving that special attack boost to the Gastrodon, which it will appreciate. But overall, I like Mike's team. I'm excited to have him back in the league, and yeah, it's gonna be fun. So, Mike Hendo, he's coming to take some names. He's been going pro in Tekken, and let's see if he can go pro in the PLC and do some damage this year.
Yes,
Um,
sir. Just wanted to briefly, I'd
mhm.
mentioned Galarian Slowking's move. I got them two mixed up. The ability I was thinking about is called Curious Medicine, where upon entering the battle, any stat alterations to allied Pokemon will be reset. So let's say, for example, let's say my Archaludon gets hit with Snarl 3 times. Once that Galarian Slowking switches in, then that stat decrease is no longer there.
And you know what's actually nasty with like Rotom Heat specifically? You can use Overheat pretty much to your heart's content. Switch it in, and then you're back to doing crazy damage, at least for a turn or two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
could also it has expanding force too, so it could also just sit there and spam
What?
expanding force into rain too.
Yo, you freaking love to see it. That's awesome. To get it that
Mm-hmm.
late in the season too, or to get it that late in the draft. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Now good stuff. So Mike, again, welcome back. We love it. And jumping into Evan. So Evan, this past weekend dropped Virizion and picked up the Cresselia that was dropped by Isamu earlier in the afternoon, earlier on Saturday, I believe. So Evan, the pickup. So I like the pickup. Virizion, I think historically, I could be wrong in saying this. It's like the first thing that comes to mind, though. I think that kind of it suffers from a lack of diversity in its move pool. I think, and now I could be wrong. I could be completely off base in saying that, but I think that's the case. But I really haven't seen Virizion too much in a competitive sense. And that might be why. But Cresselia, I mean, Cresselia is there to be a tanky Trick Room Pokemon, and it does just that. It does its job better than when I think back. I said Dusclops P2. I mean, those are really some of the best Trick Room setters in the game. Cresselia is right there as well. Cresselia is an incredible Trick Room setter, and yeah, he picked that up. So awesome. You love to see it. But looking at the team in general, looking at the team as a whole, I think the first pick. So looking back, slacking overall number one is questionable to say the least because I mean it would have made more sense had you gone like slacking and then on the comeback grabbed. I think there was a lot of things at that point. Grafai was definitely available. Galarian Weezing was definitely available. So there were a lot of Pokemon that could support the slacking, but he didn't do that. He went with Sylveon, which Sylveon's a good Pokemon, and Sylveon can do a lot of damage. But again, the slacking, after going slacking overall number one, the Sylveon pick just kind of makes a little bit less sense. But then the Brute Bonnet, I think had its time in the VGC circle for just a little bit when it first got introduced. Um, I think it's actually kind of fast and it hits pretty hard. But Hariyama is a great Trick Room Pokemon. Hariyama we haven't seen in a really long time. I think I actually ran Hariyama back in like season 2 or 3, and that was 2017 maybe. So it's been around for a while, but it's a great mon. Very tanky. Run it with an AV. Run it with a Fake Out. Drain Punch. You're gonna be in good shape. And then the Chestnut. So Evan, as we kind of spoke to before, he traded Hisui and Lilligant, which makes sense because he didn't necessarily have a need for Hisui and Lilligant, but he traded it to like a monster of a team in a Reese's team. But he got the Chestnut back, which I think it's pretty clear by this point. If you've listened to everything I've said, I'm not the biggest Chestnut fan. And I like Chestnut's design, but I just feel like Chestnut Rillaboom is what Chestnut could be. You know what I mean? But Rillaboom does everything that much better. You see what I'm saying? So that's why Chestnut. I'm not as high on Chestnut as um, other starter Pokemon or other Pokemon in general. But then Quackleval is pretty fun. Another starter mon that's pretty cool. Lycanroc kind of you can do some Endeavor things with it. If you want to run with a Focus Sash, it's a very fast Pokemon. It can hit pretty hard. Magnezone, that's a Pokemon that I don't think you have to worry about it taking any ground type damage because I think it has Levitate. Other than that, it's pretty tanky. Oricorio, Trevenant, Golurk, and then the Cresselia again. I would love to see him kind of build up around that Cresselia because, again, it's one of the premier Trick Room setters in the game, and seeing him with a few Pokemon that can take advantage of Trick Room is cool. But I would love to see him with a little more, and also get some support for that slacking because he took that number one overall, so you'd love to see it shine a little bit. Jay, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't like the slacking pick at all,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of potential there if there's like you want to go some skill swap shenanigans with the Cresselia and the Sylveon. If you wanna, I don't know if Trevenant gets Worry Seed. If you want to guy to Worry Seed Trevenant,
Mm,
but that just feels like a lot of investment to, to be honest, which I don't know. I just feel like it's a lot like to take a whole turn to let's say do a skill swap, a whole turn to set up like do a worry seed when you'd let's say if you want to run a Cresselia, you could want to maybe do a trick room instead. Like what if and I just think taunt is such a common move for a
hmm.
lot of people that it can kind of be like very easy to read. The only thing I think with Evan's team that I think I would really improve on is just I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. It's an interesting team. I don't want to say it's a bad team. I just think that I like Chestnut. The trade was a little crazy. I think you maybe could have found something a little bit more with a little more utility for that, but I don't know. I think there's some work that needs to be done. Um, yeah, there's just again, it's still week one. We could be eating our words in 2 or 3 weeks, but I
Hmm.
still think there's a lot of work that needs to be done on this team. Just a little bit more polishing. I think some moves need to be made, but it's okay. I'll just say that. It's okay.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And again, Evan, you can get $5 if you get a single KO with Chestnut. No
Yeah,
pressure.
yeah, and again, because my just thing was like, there's I don't know. I think like Cresselia's cool. You can run the Magnezone on the Trick Room, but it's still gonna die to any ground type move. Like
Hmm.
if you want to run sturdy, you can run sturdy. But yeah, like it's just my thing. Like Magnet Pool is cool.
Oh yeah,
Um, like Analytic is a cool move too, but that will require you going last as opposed to going first.
yeah,
It's just things like that where it's just like I'm not too sure it benefits him to the best of his ability. But I don't know, man. I think let's let's see how it plays out.
yeah. And I'm tripping. I was saying it had levitate, and it does not. Yeah, you are absolutely correct. Any ground type move is gonna wreck that thing. So yeah, that's I mean, let's see. Every weekend we have an opportunity to make some changes, and maybe we can get that. And get some cohesion. But it'll be interesting to see for sure. So next is Speakman. So Speakman this past weekend dropped Dugong and picked up Tatsugiri. Jay, what do you think about the move? What do you think about the team?
Love the move. Tatsugiri, even though it doesn't have its bestie in Dondozo, um, fair can do a lot of fairly cool stuff by itself. Those Draker Meteors definitely hurt. I think the Storm Drain is going to be a big part of protecting a lot of the other Pokemon, the Magmortar, as well as maybe let me just double check because I was looking at Tatsugiri's stats. I just want to double check because I think that like it hits fairly hard. I think it has like 125 special attack,
Yeah,
you know. But
120.
again, the
Yeah.
main part is the Storm Drain to protect the Hisuian Arcanine and the Magmortar. Oh, but again, that's one of those things where you can't leave on the field because even if it's not fully special attack or offense oriented, it's still gonna do that. Draco Meteor still gonna hurt. But I like the team by Chris, man. It is a really good, solid team. I love Hisuian Arcanine. It's been taking names and taking bodies in VGC,
Hmm.
the Rockhead with the head smash and the Flare Blitz, that's an instant KO on pretty much, I think, a lot, like almost 85% of Pokemon. You can go with the Terra Normal Extreme Speed, which has been doing a lot of work as well. And you go Intimidate, man. If you want to go Intimidate to kind of, you don't mind the Rock Slide, but you also want to make sure that your opponent doesn't have hard, you do that too. Excalibur, fantastic. Again, I think if it gets into the right position to set up with a Glaive Rush, gets the Ice Shard priority. There's a lot of things that can't really take any hits from it. And Excalibur's like base 140. I want to say like attack. Like a lot of things. The first two Pokemon on Chris's team so far hit like, you know, not I don't want to say like trucks, more like what are the name of those jets that 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 be like, like the big airline craft. That's what they had like. That's the really big airline craft. I
Fair,
like
fair.
Magmortar because I think Magmortar this gen it finally got that follow me access. Do you remember how before we like when Ian used to make our Pokemon, if we wanted to run either Electivire or Magmortar, we had to like go get a certain variation from a GameCube game and bring it
Yeah,
here?
I remember.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's not a problem anymore, which good news for Chris. I like the Iron Jugulis just because it gives immediate speed control, which I think is fantastic. You can also run booster energy on there,
Mhm.
and I think even though it doesn't have the greatest flying stab, I still think that the dark stab is pretty helpful as well. I like the Tinkaton pick. I think Tinkaton is very, very good at what it does. It's there to fake out and hit people with a hammer. I think it does both of those roles really well, to be honest
Mhm.
with you. I like Breloom. I think on Chris's team is gonna do a lot of work. I think the technician based moves are gonna be pretty cool to see. If you want to throw some loaded dice in there, that'd be like a nice little kind of addition right there. I'm really interested to see what Chris does. Mickey Mouse himself be able to, res up some of his teammates since Revival Blessing. I don't think that move is banned. I don't think it's
Okay.
ban worthy either, to be honest with you. And I think it could be very situational. I also think that Terra Electric Double Shock also hits really hard, and I think a lot of people are not going to be ready for it, and it's going
Mhm.
to catch a lot of people off guard. Arbolivia is like a sleeper. The reason why I consider a sleeper is because with grass, seed sower, grass sower, something like that, that instantly sets terrain. So if you want to throw a grassy seed on something, that's an immediate boost right there. And a lot of his Pokemon are already, even though they're weak to ground, once they get under that terrain, a lot that earthquake, that high horsepower damage is already decreased by I believe 50% on the terrain. Galvantula's there could be for speed control with Electro Web, or he can be real cheesy and just that sticky web to maintain speed control once he gets it. And I like Exof, man. Exof hits really like I don't. It hits okay. I feel like I keep saying everything hits hard in this team, but it just does. A lot of things hit really hard. He can go for the explosion on it, or he can just have it just do some swords dance kind of cheese, or he can even final gambit it, which I think to me is like a pretty nice little tech that not a lot of people have access to this time around. But I like the team a lot. I think there's when you first look at it, you may not see too much cohesion, but if you really start to look at everything, you can kind of see that there's a lot of hidden protection for a lot of the Pokemon that he has, which I think is really cool. And I think it's a great team. So props to Chris, man, this time around. Welcome back to the People's Champ and to the Humalao Houndooms. You know what I mean? Cool name. What are your thoughts on Chris's team this time around, Jordan?
So I actually just had to check real quick. Oh no, it's in Unova. Okay, I was gonna say Humalau. I was like, is that a Gen 7 town? I was like, because you don't really see too much Gen 7 love. But no, it's in Unova. So uh yeah, he kind of tricked me. It looks very Hawaiian or Alolan. But no, Chris's team. So the first thing I think when I look at Chris's team is it's a fast team. So Galvantula can set sticky webs if it wants to, just to kind of maintain a little bit of speed control. But then the Iron Jugulis is like an immediate tailwind threat. It does get tailwind, and then like one of us mentioned, earlier with the Roaring Moon, you can just run a booster speed and then get that tailwind up, and then you're doing big damage. You're doing a lot of damage very quickly, especially with the Hisuian Arcanine, the Baxcalibur. And then what you could do is the Palmont. We haven't really seen Revival Blessing played too much. And it'd be kind of cool to see on this team where it's like, Hisuian Arcanine, get it out there, take some KOs, and then send the Palmont out. Maybe get a fake out off, but get that Revival Blessing, get that Hisuian Arcanine back to do big damage again. That'd be kind of cool. But no, I feel like his team goes fast, and I feel like it hits pretty hard. And then yes, Magmortar with Follow Me is now a thing officially, like without going back to booting up a GameCube and doing all that stuff. So that's cool. I can appreciate that, and I know Chris is going to as well. But yeah, that's Speakman's team, and it's awesome. And then rounding out the draft board, Jay Wade this past weekend dropped Obama Snow and picked up Heatran and I like this move. So Jay Wade took a very interesting draft strategy in picking Great Tusk first as his first pick and his first asterisk Pokemon. And great, Great Tusk is dope. But then he went the next 10 rounds not picking another asterisk and just rolling with what was given to him, which ended up being Abomasnow, which he, didn't have support for an ice type team. So he's like, I'm just going to drop it and get Heatran because Heatran is amazing. So it's a really different strategy that I think worked out for him very well. Because again, you end up with Great Tusk, which is a great Pokemon. I think you um, spoke to Great Tusk when we were talking about Iron Treads a little bit, but I think it's a little bit slower than Iron Treads, but its defense and its attack are ridiculous. Meowstic, another prankster Pokemon, fantastic. Talonflame, I mean, the little bugs, I guess, can do it too, but that's one of the only tailwind setters where it's like priority tailwind, which is very valuable with how speed works nowadays. Regidrago, you want to get that thing going fast because you can go for some nasty dragon energies, which would be sick. Glamora, you can just lead that up front, and you don't want to touch it if you're playing against it because it's going to set those toxic spikes. Bronzong, again, that's a premier trick room setter. I feel like I've said premier trick room setter at least 700 times this episode, but it's a premier trick room setter. I love it, and there's not really any way around that. So Rhyperior, great Pokemon under Trick Room. And I think this is actually our first time having Rhyperior back in a couple seasons. It doesn't look familiar. I know we had it in the past. I want to say season 4, maybe 4 or 5, but it's been a little while, so it might be back for the first time in a couple years, which is cool. And then Electivire, that's another Pokemon that can now get Follow Me in game, which is awesome. And then Blastoise, that's a starter Pokemon right there. Blastoise is fire. And then Ambipom, I love Ambipom. It's on my Legends Arceus playthrough team. I have a soft spot in my heart for Ambipom. And then Rabsca, another Pokemon where it's like, I can, let this Great Tusk do some damage, and halfway through the battle, guess who's coming back? Great Tusk to do some more damage with Revival Blessing. So that'd be fun if he can pull that off. And then Heatran again. Heatran is just a really good Pokemon. It's just, I mean, you can run Terra Grass, and what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Hit it with a Bug type move. That's just not. You don't really run super effective Bug type moves. Bug Bite. Who does that, right? Um, so a Terra Grass Heatran is a dangerous Pokemon no matter which way you flip it. So I think Jay Wade did a great job of building a really good fast team, but then also having a slow mode, even though he's notoriously one of Trick Room's least favorite, not least favorite, but even though he's a notorious Trick Room hater, here he is with a great Trick Room team. So, Jay, how do you feel about his team?
Yeah, bro, I think it's a great team, honestly. I look at the Rhyperior. I think the Lightning Rod is going to catch a lot of people off guard as well.
Mm,
The Bronzong as well, if he gets a little bit of like one of the things about Rhyperior and Rhydon is I feel like Terra is a really good option for them
mm-hmm.
because let's say for example I want to go Terra Water Rhyperior, right? What are your options gonna be? Yeah, you can still move a
Right.
grass type move, but it's like you can't Thunderbolt me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You can't
Right.
Thunderbolt.
Right.
And for that, it's like, yeah, well, so Energy Ball. But I'm like, look at the teammates that he has. He has Talonflame. If you want to get hit by a Brave Bird, if you're a grass type, you can do that
Mm,
as well. You
right.
can have the Heatran, which again, if he isn't running like Terra Grass, he could also maybe even go Terra Water, and it's still protected by the Rhyperior. Usually, you want to go Terra Grass though. But my point is that there's a lot of things on J-Wave's team that enable a lot of the niche Pokemon to be good. When I say niche, I mean, for example, Regidrago, there's only one thing you want to do. You want to run a bunch of dragon type moves, you want to Dragon Energy whenever you can.
Right.
How do you put that into an effective position? You set up Tailwind, have it go first, you throw some specs on there, and it's like, bro, you go to town. And I think that J-Wade's team, I think the Rapska is a very similar to Chris' team. It's a very scary thought where it's like a lot of things on his team kill very fast, and it may not be as easy for them to be taken down. So imagine finally working to take down the Great Tusk, the Heatran, and then all of a sudden, as you kind of touched on, Jordan, they're back. Just like that. They're back. And now you're kind of like, damn, now I have to go for it again.
Hmm.
But I think Jay Wade, he does a really good job. I think he has a great mind for Pokemon. He's also very creative with a lot of things that he does. So I'm very eager to see what he's gonna do as the weeks go by, man. It's gonna be exciting to see for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure, absolutely. So Jay Wade, great team. All right, and then Simon. So Simon is the player who's in the 18th draft spot this year. In this past weekend, Simon dropped Pincurchin and picked up Glastrier. So another asterisk for asterisk swap. And Jay, how do you feel about the team and the moves overall?
Yes, known Simon Killer. I mean, no Jordan Killer Simon. I messed it up. I messed it up. And I'm upset. But I like the Glacier pickup. My only thing with Simon's team is, and I could be wrong, I think the only Pokemon that can set Trick Room on his team is Weird Deer.
Mm,
And I could be mistaken, so I don't know if like Tissu Typhlosion gets it, but you want that Glacier in the Trick Room. I don't care, like, yes, it can stand on its own, but it's one of those Pokemon that it's an immediate kind of red alert because if it gets a KO, it's gonna get the chilling neigh, and then that can steamroll an entire team right there. But to most people, they're not gonna allow that. So he needs to get something that really puts him position to shine. Now, if Weirder does get Trick Room, I think it's okay because Weirder itself gets Intimidate, so it's like it can kind of eat up a move before it gets like potentially KO'd or anything like that. But besides that, just maybe the Bravery gets it. I'm not going crazy, but I don't know. There's that one aspect. I think the Kilowattrel's a really good Pokemon too. One of my favorite things about Kilowattrel is last season Ian had it, and he kept calling it Zapdos at home, and I thought that was the
mm.
funniest shit. I don't know why I thought that was so funny, but it does do the same thing that Zapdos does in the sense where it's like you want it to set up Tailwind, and that's pretty much it. So I think that's immediate speed control for Simon right there, and I think I'm more worried about the Glacier than anything else because I think the Cleavor is under Tailwind is going to be fantastic. I also think Stoneaxe is a really underrated like move, similar to Ceaseless Edge. If you put a Scarf on that Cleavor just to get those rocks up immediately, I think that's a really good option to run going forward. Galarian Zapdos to me, I love Galarian Zapdos. It's my favorite of all six regional birds. It's by far my favorite. Defiant is a really good ability. Sableye to me is also going to be essential for Simon's team just because he can save that Glacier with that Sableye. There's a lot of different things he can do with the Sableye to kind of protect the Glacier from harm. His Sweet Typhlosion, I like. I just don't like that its abilities aren't the greatest. Like Frisk is cool, but it's like, get, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's cool. It's
Yeah,
cool.
right,
Like
right.
Blaze is cool too. Inferno Parade, I think as a move, I think it's okay. But I don't know. I think you probably want to run something else in that slot. But I think it's a cool move. I think it's a cool move. I'm really excited to see Hydrapple. The thing again with Hydrapple is that it's decently bulky. Um, what is the name of the move? It's not Simple Beam. It's something with an S. Where it has a chance to do I believe up to 140 damage if all the heads kind of come out. I think it's like a 50% chance of that happening. Or I'm gonna double check that. I'm gonna get back to you. I think
Hmm.
that's a really good Pokemon too. I like Weirder too, man. Like Weirder to me was on my Legends Arceus team. I know shout out Legends Arceus. Psyshield Bash is a really cool move that I think every time like there's a lot of potential there to make that deer as bulky as can be. I like Weirder also because it's a pure mixed attacker. He wanted to go that route. I think it's 106 attack and 106 special attack directly, and it has decent HP. So I think it can do work. It can do work. The Alolan Raichu, it's a little out of place for me, to be honest with you, because there's already three psychic types on the team, and there's no electric terrain.
Right.
But it's fake out support. It's fake out support with Sableye, which I think is cool. I spoke with Killer a bit. For me, I like Cobalion, and I think there's potential with the Sableye to do some cheesy strats. For me, it's just not something that I think I would run in this scenario. I think I would look at the wire, maybe kind of fix it a little bit more, but there's potential there. Uh, Hisuian Bravery, I think, is a really cool Pokemon, and I think if put in the right situation, if you go Tinted Lens, it can definitely put in a lot of work with what is the signature move? I forgot the signature move right now, but it's something it increases its stats, I mean its speed every time it's used, and that could kind of really he can really utilize the speed control on that Pokemon with that. Lastly, the Dub Striker. I love Dub Striker. I think it's one of the coolest like Pokemon designs. I also like that how in this gen, when you look at it, when it like shocks itself, it turns yellow and it looks really cool. But I don't know. It's just it's just there. But I will say this. He can go for some cheese with those three electric types, excuse me. If he really wanted to make this zebra shine, he can do some motor drive shenanigans if he wanted to as well, which is something that I was looking at his team. I'm like, oh, you kind of do with that as well. Overall, I think it's an okay team. I don't think it's super cohesive, but there's a lot of potential there to catch a lot of people off guard with some of the tech that he has. What are your thoughts on Simon's team this time around, Jordan? And before you speak, I know this is your rival, but can you please just be a little unbiased just for a couple minutes?
I will try to be impartial. Yes. So Simon's team. I actually like Simon's team a lot, and he has a lot of Legends Arceus Pokemon on his team. I mean, a lot. Like he has like three of them. But now Cleavor is an awesome Pokemon. I think Sheer Force is probably the thing that's going to be ran the most on that. But Hisuian Typhlosion being the other weird year, that's three, and then Hisuian Braviary. So four Legends Arceus mons out of 12. I mean, that's quite a bit. Um, but no, I mean his team. I liked his team prior to the weekend more than I like it now because, like you mentioned, the Glastrier wants to play in Trick Room, and I was looking. I was trying to see if Hisui and Braviary got Trick Room. I wasn't able to confirm that. And then same thing. I was thinking maybe Hisui and Typhlosion or maybe Sableye, but I wasn't able to confirm it either. So I don't think they do. But he had before he picked up Glastrier, he had Pincurchin, which is
Right.
very well. It plays very well in Trick Rooms. I mean, granted, still the Weird Year is the only Pokemon, but then you could have dropped something like the Zebstrika to get something that sets Trick Room and then have two of them. You know what I mean? Which I think may have been a better use of the wire this past weekend. But also, the Alolan Raichu immediately becomes a little bit scarier in prep because that could just outspeed you, and I think it has a signature move as well, something about surfing, but it could do some big damage under electric terrain, or you could set up Trick Room. Pincurchin could do the big damage with Rising Voltage. So I liked the team more before this weekend, which is kind of nuts to think about. But other than that, I mean, the Sableye is a great Pokemon because it's another Pokemon. Anytime you have to deal with Prankster, it's like, what are you going to do with that Prankstermon? And then again, Cleavor's pretty solid. Galarian Zapdos is pretty solid. The Hydra Apple, I think it's Fickle Beam. I was looking at that when you were talking through it. And Fickle Beam is, I think, the movie you were speaking to. But I mean, to be fair, Glastrier is a Pokemon that I even considered when I was looking at the wire this past weekend because Glastrier is a pretty tanky Pokemon. Like it's got its stat distribution is on point. Like it's got stats exactly where you want stats to be. You know what I mean? It doesn't really have any wasted stats, which is awesome. And it's very rare that a Pokemon comes together like that. But Glastrier is one of them that does. But
Right. And I think just because you mentioned the great point. I think I probably would have switched those two asterisks. I still would have picked the Glacier, but I just feel like the Pincurchin
yeah,
with the Glacier as opposed to Cobalion and Glacier would
yeah,
have been a much
that's a good point.
nastier combo. Like to be
Absolutely,
honest with you.
absolutely.
Um, and again, it's like again, there's some tech that can help the horse out, but you want to get that horse up and running with as many KOs as possible.
Right.
In singles, it's bulky enough so that it could take most hits. In our meta, where you probably know it's coming, and you're probably gonna get two hits going towards it because people don't want to deal with the boost or to even get hit by it.
Hmm.
It's a little, I don't know, just would have switched those wires around a little bit. I also just wanted to just point out that the two moves or thing about on the Hisuian Bravery were Esper Wing, which increase crit chance, but also increases speed. And again, side shield bash on weirder, which does increase the defense stat 100% of the time.
Gotcha. Okay, no, that's good stuff. That is good. Good insight. But yeah, I mean that's a really good point too. That if you would have just dropped the Cobalion pick to the last year, that would have been nasty. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. But
Yeah, and
overall,
just
the team is still dangerous though. But
it's still a dangerous team. So I mean, just something I just want you to think about also, because again, we also kind of said it a little bit, but the right shoe also now can't be utilized to its full potential.
right.
With the Surge Surfer, it would have been outspeeding everything. You could have had immediate speed control with like just by nuzzling a bunch of Pokemon. To be honest with you, if you want to go that route, or if you just wanted to also, it just hits hard under electric terrain.
Mm-hmm.
Now Zebstrika also could have hit hard under electric terrain as well, but now it's like certain things that you had, they call all kind of lost a lot of what makes them special. The electric types in particular, you could have went with the Collateral to kind of maybe if you wanted to do the discharge on the Zebstrika, you could do that to increase his attack. Or if you want to do the motor drive, these are things you can still do, but imagine them now under electric terrain. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you just want to, maybe because that would have been, I think, like four electric types to be
Mm-hmm.
on, that's just also kind of crazy
Right.
as well. But I don't know. Again, as we don't think it's a bad team, Simon. Just something to think about going forward. I still think it's an okay team. I think it's a good team, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I think it's one of Simon's better teams that he's had because he's played the last couple of years. I think this is definitely one that's very dangerous still. But yeah, that's the last of the transactions. That's the last of our players and their teams. So those are fair, unbiased team reviews, and I hope you enjoyed that bit. So Jay, the last thing that we're gonna do is the same thing we did in season 7. We are going to make our week 1 picks as well as the remaining Mons that we think are going to be left. And to those that are new, Jay and I are going to pick the results of the week at the start of the week. And then as the results come rolling in, we're going to determine not only did we pick the correct player to win, but did we pick the outcome perfectly in a sense that Simon versus Jay Wade, let's just say I pick Simon by 5 and Simon wins by 5. That's a perfect call. So we're going to be keeping track of our not only calls throughout the season, but our perfect calls as well. So Jay, anything you want to mention before we jump into our week 1 picks?
No, sir. I think you hit it all on the head. Again, my only thing is, if we didn't pick you guys, I'm so sorry. I apologize in advance. It's just,
Right.
again, this is just our opinion. Doesn't mean we want you to lose or we wish anything bad. This is just how we feel. And if you don't like it, then prove us wrong, man. I love to be proven wrong. I love people to take some shine. Just know, it's not personal. It's just the main thing.
Exactly. No, that's a good point. That's very, very true. So, thank you for pointing that out, Jay. And with that being said, I want you to do the honors. Let's kick off season 9. Simon versus Jay Wade.
Ooh,
Your
man,
pick and
this.
the outcome
Mhm.
and the remaining. So,
This is probably one of the most hyped up matchups of the season. Now, I know it's crazy to say it's just the first season, but if you've been active in the PLC chat, there's been a lot of trash talking, I'll say, between these two players. Simon has vowed to avenge his losses to Jay Wade, and also he's tired of Jay Wade speaking bad on his name, man, in chat, while Jay Wade aims to prove that, Simon is not as good as Simon says he is. I think it's gonna be an interesting matchup. On paper, it looks really rough for Simon. Um, I'm gonna go with Jay Wade by 5.
all right, I've got you down. Hold on one second. I have to write this in a legible way. All right, it's Jay Wade by 5. All right. Um, yeah, the biggest thing in this matchup that stands out is Simon has a lot of Pokemon that are weak to ground, and Jay Wade's got a very strong ground type in Great Tusk, and he can move pretty quickly with that priority Tailwind. So I'm gonna go with Jay Wade as well. Sorry, Simon, but I'm gonna go with Jay Wade by. I'm not gonna copy you. I'm gonna go with Jay Wade by 4. I think Simon takes a couple KOs, but I do think Jay Wade's gonna come out on top, and I think he's gonna get it by 4. All right. So the next matchup this week is Ian versus Speakman. So Ian and Speakman, these are two OGs. Ian, I'm gonna glance at your team really quickly, and then Speakman, you're right there as well. We have a Pokemon that doesn't want to get hit with water with Hisuian Arcanine, the Magmortar, but then we also have the Palmont, the Galvantula. Jay, I'm gonna call this one. Oh man, I'm gonna
It's a
go.
tough one,
It
man. It's a
is. It
tough one.
really is. Oh, I don't know. So I'm gonna go with Ian in this one because he's got the rain. Now, granted, Speakman should have answers for that. Does he though? I'm gonna go with Ian in this one by 2. Ian's also got the Klefki, which can counter the Arbolivis terrain. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Ian by 2 in this one.
Well, I told myself whatever you picked for this one, because I actually couldn't pick. I was just gonna go the opposite route. Not just because Ian is not the personal. I just didn't know who to pick, and just for the sake of wanting to oppose Jordan, I will go with Chris by 1 in this scenario.
I got you down. All right. Jay, Zach versus SB. Let me get your pick.
This one, I like SB's team, but I think Zach's team is probably top 5 in the league right now. For that, I just think Zach's gonna be on his A game. I'm gonna go with Zach by 4.
Zach by 4. I've got it down. Yeah, I mean, I kind of echo the same sentiments. Zach is, I mean, we've seen him go on tears through the league, and his team right now is pretty nasty. SB, I mean, he does have Metagross. He does have the Skeletor, Swampert. Swampert's weak to. I'm gonna go with Zach. I have to go with Zach. SB, I'm sorry. I know we may end up working together a little bit this year, but Zach's a different breed. Zach is a monster, so I'm gonna go with Zach in this case. I feel like SB can make it close though. Let's go with Zach by 3. I think that might be a pretty good call. So we're gonna
That's
go with
fair.
Zach by 3. Isamu in his debut is going up against Mike Hendo.
That's
Um,
rough. That's
yeah, that
rough
is
right there.
that's a
That's
welcome to
rough.
the league moment for sure. Isamu Mike didn't play last year. I think he played 2 years ago, but Mike is an OG. He's been to finals. I want to say he was in finals in season 2 or 3.
Mhm.
But Mike is a quality player. And let's see again a quick glance. Isamu has a Wheezing, which is weak to Psychic, which Mike's got some Psychic type mons. Toadscrew, I think, is a poison type. Maybe I don't know. Halucha's weak to Psychic too. I kind of want to go with Mike. He's coming back to the PLC. He's going to be prepped and ready. And Isamu again, 6v6 doubles. I'm not sure how familiar you are with that play style, but it's tough. It can be a tough thing to kind of adapt to. So I'm going to go with Mike. Let's say Isamu keeps it close. Let's go Mike by 2. I'm gonna go Mike by 2.
Mm. I like it. Getting very, very rough on the league, Samu. I think the Weezing has a potential in this matchup just for the simple fact that a fair amount of Pokemon on Mike's team are decently ability reliant. Um, so there's a chance.
That's a
I
good
still
call.
think
Yeah.
Mike takes it, but I'm gonna go Mike by 4.
Mike by 4. I've got it down. All right. Next matchup, Jay. It is your match versus Justin. How do you feel?
Feel good, man. To be honest with you, that Mammoth wine was stressing me out. I'm glad it's not there anymore. I think I have an idea of what Justin might try to do. I think I'm decently equipped to kind of break out of it. I'm gonna go with myself by 3.
All right, I've got you down, Jay by 3. All right, this matchup, I'm going to go with Justin by 1. Now, Jay, that's
Hmm.
nothing personal.
Hey, man, I get it. Oh,
I am just, for the sake of making this bit interesting, I'm going to pick against you
As you should.
for 12 straight weeks. I
I
hope you're
like
ready.
that. Hey, that makes me better. That fuels me. Because you know what that
Justin,
means? That means every Monday night I'm gonna come see you.
I
If
dig
I
it.
lose though, I'm not showing up.
No, I dig it. I dig it. All right, so Justin, I've got you down by 1. Justin, now Jay, you do. I mean, this is weather versus weather. It's gonna be fun to watch. But yeah, no, I'm gonna go with Justin by 1 just to make things fun. All right, so Aris versus Brendan. This is a rematch of finals from last year.
Hmm.
You love to see it.
Yes, sir. There's a little bit of spice in this matchup too.
Exactly. There's a little bit of animosity in
Hmm.
this matchup. Brendan looks like Brendan kind of wants to go slow. Aris doesn't mind. He's got Torkoal, which is a very slow mon. Um, I'm gonna go with Aris in this one by timer. No, I'm gonna go with Aris by 2. That was a good one. Aris by 2. I'm gonna go with Aris by 2. Jay, what do you think? And I'm calling it
Oh
going to time.
shit.
It's gonna go to time.
Oh my god. Dude, that was good. I
That
was
was
not
funny.
expecting that.
That was funny.
Wow. I'm all right. Just because I'm on mic and I don't want to do like that crazy laugh, but I'm, I'm gonna go for Reese by 3.
Aris by 3. Good stuff. Okay, I've
Oh
got you
my
down.
god, that was hilarious, Jordan. You're funny, bro.
That was a good one. All right, and that was kind of spur of the moment too. I was like, this is gonna kill.
Oh man.
All the homies are gonna love this.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, you're stupid.
So the next match is Jay. Jay, I think you're picking first in this case, but this is Jay
Yeah,
Grants versus myself.
I'm gonna
Jay,
go with Jay Grant by 6, to be honest with you. And I want you to
not
lock
by
that in.
6.
I want you to lock. No, I'm joking. I'm gonna go with Jay Grant by 2.
Okay, I got you. Jay 2, got you down. Okay, no, I dig it. I dig the counter pick. That's awesome. I dig it. Um, I'm gonna go with myself. Clearly, naturally, you got to bet on yourself. I'm gonna go with myself by it's still early in the season. We got to get kind of back in the flow
Yeah,
of things. I'm gonna go with myself by. I'm just gonna go by 2. I never historically come out and get these large margin of victory wins. Mine are
yeah.
pretty close historically, so I'm gonna go with myself by 2. Again, betting on myself there. And
Interesting. I like it.
then Dan and Ty. Dan
That's
and
a good
Ty.
matchup.
Yeah, I think they. I want to say they played in an off season or 2.
Mm-hmm.
I could be tripping saying that, but I think that's the case. But Dan, let me glance at your team again. Iron Moth, okay, I dig it. And then Ty, you picked early. Ooh, Ty's got some heat, pun intended. But let's see. I feel like I want to go Dan here, and I want to go Dan by. I want to go Dan by 2. It's going to be close because I don't feel like he has the tools to just come out and absolutely steamroll. But I feel like he can come out on top, and I'm gonna go by Dan by 2.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man.
Yeah,
Hmm. For the sake of opposing you, I'm gonna go with Ty by 2.
Ty by 2. I dig it. I've got
Because
you
this is
down.
actually this is a very decent toss up. I think Ty can get in position and he could if he starts off on the offensive, I think th- there's a solid chance he'll win.
Mhm.
Dan has a couple of like hidden supports that can do a lot of work on Ty's team too. It's interesting, man. This is an interesting matchup. I don't think this is gonna be one of our recorded matches, which is a shame.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna be eager to see how this one turns out. But I'm going to tie by 2 just because I want to oppose you.
No, I got you. That's fair. All right, last match. Jay, you're first up to pick, but it's Brian versus Evan. Let me know
Whew,
your pick.
this is gonna be the Sand versus the Slack King. This is gonna be interesting, personally. But as much as I like Slack King, but I have to go with Brian by 4.
All right. Yeah, no, I'm gonna go with the same pick, the same player, in Brian. I'm gonna go out on a limb here. This is a bold one. This is a bold call. And Evan, this is not any disrespect to you, but I think we just need a little bit of cohesion on that side.
Yep.
Um, but I'm gonna go with Brian. I'm gonna go with Brian by 5, just
God
because I
damn.
feel like it's gonna be,
Damn.
Brian's got cohesion. You know what I mean? Brian has the definition of cohesion. So I'm gonna go with Brian by 5. And again, that's not to slight Evan, but I just feel like, Evan struggled with the 6v6 meta in the past because he did play a couple games was it last year? 2 years ago? I think it was last year, but yeah, it's a different monster. If you play 4v4, that's one thing, but if you play 6v6, it is kind of, if you let a monster in the field a little too long, it can kind of steamroll. So I'm gonna go with Brian. I'm gonna go with Brian by 5, and just because I think that it could be a big one. But that's our picks, so everything's locked in. Jay, I've got your picks locked in. I've got my picks locked
Yes,
in.
sir.
We will take a look at who got calls correct and who got perfect calls. We'll look at those on next week's episode. But Jay, that's all we had for today. Is there anything you want to say to the people before we roll out?
Nah, man, just good luck. Try to reach out to your opponents early. And again, rookies, vets as well. Keep in mind, it is just week 1. For whatever result you get, of course you want to win. But again, it's a very long season. This is week 1 of 12. It's about to be, let me see, if I'm really bad at math. That's a 4 to 5 month season. So again, keep in mind, of course, you don't want to make it a habit of stacking up these L's, but it's only week 1. There's no need to hit the panic button yet. And again, there's a lot of opportunities to still make moves if you feel like maybe there's something lacking on your team. And of course, just remember some of the rules we have. Again, no duplicate items. Um, I don't want to mention any specific names. You know who you are. But
Jay
yeah, just
Wade.
make sure. Wow, it's crazy.
Jordan
But
Wade.
yeah, wow, that's insane. But
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
man. I know. Just remember, like again, even though we are competing, just remember to have fun, man. At the end of the day, we are competing for a lovely Gundam trophy made by the CEO himself at the end of the year. And then, man, just make sure to have fun, and just try to show as much sportsmanship as you can. Because I know it's Pokemon, we don't really have control over what happens, and it can be very frustrating. But just remember, it's the game we play, man. It's a game that we've
Right.
known for a long time, and it's gonna happen
Yeah.
throughout the season. It's gonna happen to everybody at least once.
Right. And especially if you're playing
Except,
Zach.
except if you, as I was saying, except you're playing Zach, it will literally happen every single week.
Right, exactly. No, if you're playing Zach this week, good luck. You're gonna need it. So
Yeah, SB is about to get critted at least 4 times and get paralyzed twice. And Zach doesn't even
oh,
have a Thunderwave
oh
Pokemon
no.
team, but he's still gonna get paralyzed at least twice.
Body slam paralysis stuff.
Not he's gonna get it every time, man. Watch.
Exactly. No, but yeah, Jay, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I want to add, just have fun. We're here for fun. We're not here to be toxic. And all of our thoughts, this is all of our own thoughts. Everything we said about your team could be completely off base if you listen to it and you're like, there's no way that they just said this. I mean, this is just for fun. We're doing this because it's fun content for the league, and I think that everyone enjoys it. So we're doing this out of a pure love of the game and for fun. And we're all here. All 18 of us are playing for fun. This is just a bunch of friends having fun. So yeah, just keep that in mind as we play. And yeah, that's all for the season 9, the PLC podcast, season 9, week 1 podcast. And we will see you guys in chat. We really hope you enjoy. And yeah, we'll see you guys in chat and see you here next week. Peace.
Oops.